Hello, everybody. This is Angel Arts, and welcome to a very special video today. This is Let's Talk Cyberpunk 2077, and the reason I am particularly excited is because I am here joined today by a panel of three of my very close YouTuber friends. And we're all excited and ready to chat about Cyberpunk 2077. I think I should start by having each panelist introduce themselves. I think it probably is fitting to go ladies first, so why don't we start with you, Kathleen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kathleen. I have a YouTube channel called Kathleen MMS. I haven't been too active there lately. I'm taking a hiatus, I guess you could say, but you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I met Hark a long time ago. I followed his Let's Plays, and I guess I just wanted someone who was also queer, and that's why I was attracted to his channel, and he was such a good friend for me when I was coming out. And so it's a pleasure to, kind of be back and talking about games with a good friend. I am originally from America, and I'm living in Taiwan now, so yeah.
And where else, what else might the viewers have seen you on my channel before?
Probably talking about The Walking Dead and Mass Effect and other games, so yeah.
Great. Why don't we move to, we'll move to Shay.
Sure. So hello everybody, name is Shay, nicknamed. My real name is Nuno, but Hark has kind of made it so that it's Shay online at this point. Everyone just started calling me that. So XCI Gaming is my channel, just that spelled out, Shay spelled out. So I do RPGs there, narrative-driven gameplay, character assessment, stuff like that. I really enjoy breaking things down, and I found Hark for those reasons. His Mass Effect RPG run was appealing to me. It was something new and fresh, and his perspective was sort of like mine, where he really dug into things, and I appreciated that. So you can find me on some of Hark's content, like the Dark Pictures series, where we both make a lot of bad decisions together or separate, but that eventually impact each other. I was on the Pokemon tabletop game that Hark ran a few years ago, and I know there's one out. Oh, the big one, the 3-year Borderlands co-op with the group. So that was a massive one. And I am from Canada.
Yeah. Thank you, Shay. And last but not least, I saved David for last because I think I'm not sure for people watching if they know Logan or Lucky Jack 20, but I always tell people that Lucky Jack 20 is my YouTube boyfriend. I feel like David, though, is my YouTube husband. I think, in many ways.
I think that's the correct assessment.
So, David, why don't you go ahead and introduce
yourself? So what am I then, Hark? Am I your YouTube sister?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that would be accurate as well. Yeah.
Aww.
You've been to my wedding, so I think that makes perfect sense. If you've been to my wedding, you're basically your family. So.
Yeah, I'm Hark's straight internet husband.
Yes, exactly. With the sexy Swedish accent, I always say.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm David. I have a YouTube channel, which I very occasionally now put up a few videos now and then. We're looking forward to more narrative Bioware games that I might put up there as well. We'll see. I have been on Hark's channel a few times. I think most of you know me from the role-playing series, Dragon Age role-playing series, Season 1, as Maximilian. I've also been on a few talks, I believe. Other than that, I'm from Sweden, and super excited to be here. It's good to stretch the English talking nerves a bit.
Nice.
Awesome, guys. This is such a wonderful reunion for me, especially since with the last year, this has been recorded at the tail end of 2020. So my social outlet has been very limited, as I'm sure for many people. So this is super exciting. Before I continue, I just wanted to make sure that everybody watching knows what they're expecting today. It's going to be very casual. We don't have like a super formal format. We're pretty much just going to talk about anything and everything that we can think of under the sun in Cyberpunk 2077. But we are going to limit this particular video just to Act 1. And the reason why we're limiting it to Act 1 is because the four of us, we tend to talk a lot. We talk a lot individually. So I'm anticipating that we'll probably have a lot to discuss and bounce off of each other when you put all four of us into a chat together about Cyberpunk. So we're trying to limit it because of that. But the other reason is because the four of us are in different parts of the game right now. So Shay just finished Act 1 as of this recording. Kathleen is a few hours into Act 2 as we speak. I triggered Act 3, but I didn't actually start Act 3. And then David just beat the game like a few days ago because...
I thought it was competition. So
yeah, yes. So David wins. David won, just so you all know. He's the winner.
Establish that.
Yeah, we have to establish that. But for those of us who, unfortunately, do not have as amazing of a life as David does, we're savoring the game a little bit more than normal. So that's the other reason. So we are going to avoid any spoilers, plot spoilers especially, of anything that happens after Act 1 or Act 2 and beyond. So don't expect any of that if you're trying to protect yourself from spoilers. So if you haven't gone through Act 1 at all, don't watch this video unless you don't care about spoilers. And the other exciting thing is that all four of us represent all three different life paths. I actually didn't know that until we actually started recording. As you can all see, I've corpoed myself up. Again, this is 2020, and I have not really dressed up nor done my hair in ages. So this is kind of surreal for me that I get to dress myself up just a little bit. But can you, the other three, let us know what life paths you chose and why did you decide to choose that life path? What was it about it that spoke to you?
So I took Nomad. The reason why I took Nomad, I think that spoke to me because I love the that free spirit nature, just in humanity in general, the ability to just get out there, find connections. And with the Nomads, they have a very strong connection with family. Now that's something I don't necessarily have in my real life, but it's something that I have developed over time with friends and with web people. Like, it's just, I have a different way of making those connections. And I feel like the Nomad sort of represents that, you can have that new start and you can find a way to create bonds based on, just having a clear state of mind and kind of looking forward as a unit as opposed to as an individual. So I love the whole road tripping feel of things. The Badlands are appealing to me. I love the look of Night City, but I can't wait to go back to the Badlands, to be honest, already. Just roam around. Yeah.
I went corpo because suits and nice cars. I mean, the picture was really tempting. No, also, I think they resonated with me more than the streets, which were more anarchy, and Badlands of more like, I don't know, feel like kind of.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna say anything. Just wild people out, out and about. No. I like Nomad. I almost chose Nomad. I also like that kind of a family spirit thing. But in the end, I chose Corpo because I wanted to be. I wanted to start at the top to see what it was, what it was like. Like, how will this play out? How will I go from corpo to non-corpo? And also, I just love the aesthetic of it, and the not I thought it was going to be more Law and Order, but mostly just backstabbing. But I kind of like that side of it as well. Like, okay, nice, posh, stylish. Everybody hates me, and I look down at everyone, just like in real life.
There you go.
Worked perfectly. No.
Street just called out to me. I couldn't see any other option. I think my perception of this game was definitely shaped by my love for the cyberpunk genre, like whether it be books or movies, but also my own experience with playing Cyberpunk, the role-playing game. So, yeah, when I played the Cyberpunk role-playing game, it was very gritty and realistic and kind of awful. And so I just kind of put myself into how I would deal with this world. And I feel like I would be more of an anarchistic survivor in this world, like a lone wolf, if you will. And that's why Street Kid kind of called out to me, because you can't be a rocker boy in this game. So, and that's one of the classes. That's one of the classes in the role-playing game.
Oh, that's
cool. And rocker boy is what Johnny Silverhand is. He's the like most famous rocker boy, and I wanted to emulate his spirit. And that's he's my favorite character in the role-playing lore. So I just kind of wanted to emulate that. So yeah.
That leads me to my question to Shay and David. Did either of you play the Cyberpunk tabletop by any chance?
No, I read some of the books, but I played Shadowrun back in the day. So that's my big Cyberpunk influence from a tabletop perspective.
Kathleen, so far, since you've played through all of Act I, how well do you think, in general, did the video game translate from the tabletop, would you say?
It definitely took liberties, but I think that's a good decision because the tabletop role-play game, I haven't played the most recent version. There's like this new update that I haven't played, and it really helps a lot of the issues. But the role-playing game feels very dated. Like, it's not like Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons feels very... It flows well. But but Cyberpunk doesn't... I don't know. It flows well at times, but it has a lot of issues.
Are you talking about the combat specifically? Or even outside of combat?
The combat for sure. So, but also I think that the game... It didn't interpret this in a retro futuristic way. So it did it in a very modern way. So I like that. Yeah.
I will go ahead and answer my own question. I also chose Corpo, as you can see. And for many reasons, I like nice things. I'm a person who likes nice things. I'm Asian, so maybe that has something to do with it. Us Asians are known to like work really hard and stereotypically try to get all of the straight A's in school so you can get a nice white-collar job, I guess, is a very stereotypical Asian thing. So I think that there might be something in there that I was partial to. But the other reason is because I'm just very intrigued by I guess people who are in power and how that can get corrupt. And I think I was really curious to just see how my character could navigate through something that I guess the best way I could parallel that to is the game in Orlais in Dragon Age, because Orlais, for those of you who don't know Dragon Age lore, is a very high society, a lot of like nobles who put up this front, right? Because they've got their fancy clothes and they've got their fancy estates and they're all like nice and cordial to each other, but behind behind the scenes, they're ready to like stab you in the back. And so, as someone like myself who doesn't tend to to gravitate in RPGs, at least, I don't do well gravitating towards the rebellious or the anarchist type of characters. I think they're great characters for as a sidekick or as a companion to my type of character, who is a little bit more Boy Scouty, even though you can't really be that much. Yeah, I'm a Boy Scouty type of character, but you can't really be super Boy Scouty in this video game. So I was just curious to see.
No.
Yeah, no, you can't. So I was just curious to see what. I guess I was just curious to see how my character would end up being shaped by the circumstances that he's in, and I felt it was easiest for me to do that starting as a corpo first, and then getting knocked off and stuff.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a bit of a question, but how do you think your personal experiences have shaped this, this decision?
My father was like a tax enforcer. I'm all about law and order, like they're very structured, and while Nomad and Street are badasses completely, I couldn't see, it just isn't me. I could embody that kind of gameplay. That said, I mean, just 10 minutes into the corporal gameplay, I know I was completely fucked. Like, crap. There's no way out here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Maybe I should have chosen one of the others. No. Yeah.
How about you, Shay? Did any of your personal experiences?
I think so, because every few years I have a tendency to do reboot switches on my life, and they come out not on a whim, but to everyone else it seems like it's on a whim. I just have a way of assessing things to a point where I just know that I need to move, I need to disrupt my life, and so I do, and I do it in the most overt way possible, so that everything around me gets disrupted too, and I get to have a clean start. And so one of those things that a couple of years ago, I wouldn't say it was a breakdown, but I had a moment at work. I moved to a corporate job for the first time in my life, from startup to corporate. I've been there a long time. It's a great job, but I've been there a long time. And the dynamics are very different between people. As the corpos would know in the world, there's just a lot of stuff that goes on where sometimes you go, why this kind of diplomacy sometimes? Why not just be blunt with each other? Why not just be as transparent as possible? Just act like humans, talk to people like people instead of as ranks and stuff like that. So that was a bit jarring for me. And on a whim, I bought a van, I put a bed in it, and I drove out west in Canada. It took me 20 days. I didn't know when I was coming back. I put in my vacation time, but it was one of those, I'm going to get to the mountains and then I'll figure it out, and my boss at the time just assumed that I don't think this guy's coming back, right? And so like coming back is that it actually rebooted the way I thought about things and the way that I moved forward in the last 3 years. But it's just kind of like that idea of just the character mindset and being able to go just leave somewhere and not always have a plan, and just kind of embrace the nature of, I guess, that nomad lifestyle. You meet new people, you find new places. You have to survive. You have to find a place to sleep, and eat. And it's just and it's kind of the wilds, but at the same time, there's something invigorating about kind of having that perspective on life. And so for real, yeah.
Wow, I just have to say that's amazing. I would never do that. That's fucking inspiring, dude. Okay. Language. That's oof. I'm like, no, I don't leave my apartment. It's horrible.
All of that sounds alien, yeah.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Kathleen?
How about you, Kathleen? Yeah.
Why do you want to kick people's teeth in?
Yeah. Where does this come from?
I don't want to swing bats at.
I have a guess for Kathleen, but I don't want to presume. But I have a guess.
Guess, please do.
So my guess is so Kathleen, because I know her very well, and I've known her before she came out to people, and I know when she came out she was very religious, or at least she was in a very religious group and a religious friends and all that good stuff. And it wasn't until she came out that she really just kind of let loose and allowed herself to be herself, and I feel like that was very freeing and invigorating for her. And I don't want to say that in and of itself is anarchistic, but I just feel like that there's a rebellious side to that, to just being able to break from the shackles that I assume she had. So that's my interpretation of why I think she might have went street cred, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's a good analysis of why I went with that. I just think that street cred personally is more punk rock, and that's really cool.
Okay.
You know, it's more heavy metal. But no, seriously, I guess I do kind of have an anarchistic personality in a lot of ways. Like I have this disdain for authority in a lot of ways. I think maybe because of my own background or whatever. So that's why I felt like it just called to me. So yeah.
And I guess I'll just quickly answer the question by just saying that I think for me, I'm a software engineer by trade, a very big computer programming nerd, and so I have worked in corporate-ish type of settings before. It actually is not where I ultimately wanted to work. Fortunately, the job that I have right now is more of a small startup-y kind of company, which I prefer 100% more. But I just felt like that because of my real life lifestyle and my usual day-to-day, the corpo was just something that I thought would be easiest for me to role play within. So that's a great question, Kathleen. So yeah, speaking of which, before we actually dive into the actual prologue and the actual life paths to the game, I wanted to know if any of you guys had any thoughts, first of all, on the whole character creation of the game.
Well, if I could say,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a step in the right direction because, I mean, no surprise, I believe that gender is a spectrum and some people do not identify as like one or the other in terms of what we've been programmed to think in certain cultures. So I think there's something to be said about having nuance in terms of gender when it comes to character creation. So I thought that was cool, but I will later say that there are some characters in the game that aren't very they're a bit problematic when it comes to like trans representation. So yeah, but I think it's a step in the right direction. So
Sure. I'm not sure what I expected, but I don't know. When I first like picked my attribute points, I didn't really know what they were. Like,
Okay.
how will this affect my gameplay? So I think I was kind of clicking around a bit of this. I don't know. So I think it could be a little bit more clear on that, maybe. Not a big thing. There was a tutorial later on, so I figured it out. Other than that, no. Like I got my bearded gentleman, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. It's okay. I got my ginger, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Of course, a bit surprised that you can customize your genitalia. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind it. Like, I'm a Swede, I don't mind nudity. Like, oh, I'm more like, oh, I've never seen this in a game before. Heck yeah, I'm gonna escape. Shows female. Yep, that works there too. Okay, escape, go male again. Okay. I didn't make a big thing of it, but it was like one of these. Oh wow, we're here now. Didn't know we needed this, but I don't mind it. But okay. I just laughed and carried on creating my character. I love the cybernetics you can have on your head and face. I'm one of those who wanted some kind of cybernetic on my face. I got those like eye things besides the eyes. Oh, it looks so cool! I loved it.
Yeah.
It's like face tattoos for the elves and dragons.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, I would say the character gen, to piggyback on something David said, I mean, it's not something, what was you said about the genitalia? That it's not something that was needed, but it was something that was appreciated from my perspective. Like, I like getting to that point and just going, Oh, dick. Okay, so this is like, this is this is good. This is I like, even if I never see this in the game, I like to see that I can, choose that. And I mean, it could have been more variable, but I mean, it's fine. It's good that it was it there, because it kind of gets you just mentally into the character a little bit more, as more of a living thing, even though it's a video game character, but it wasn't as Barbie Kenished. So yeah, it didn't have to be perfect for me, but I like the fact that they try to be thorough and they give you variability. For my character in particular, like I wanted that sort of a little bit androgynous, a little bit kind of in the middle kind of persona, and that's a bit of a mix of the whole cyberpunkian kind of the genre. Why I love the genre so much is that it taps into identity so much. So even beyond things like gender or who you're attracted to and all this other stuff, it goes beyond that, and it's about like you really questioning what an identity is and what kind of components make up a person, and I don't know, I thought like the character generation allowed me to kind of tap into that. Like, no nipples, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that, because why not? Because it just makes you ask questions about what the physical form is, so.
Yeah, I know that I've seen a few Let's Plays of just the character creation from other YouTubers, and one of the things that I see on the comments that I can't help but laugh about is that people are constantly in the comments saying, "I came here just to see the reaction on the genitals," like, and many of them are like disappointed if they censored it or if they cut that part out. There's like, "Oh man, I really wanted to see your reaction with the genitals and stuff," which I think was amusing. But I'm glad that Shay brought up the identity thing, because I actually didn't think about that before. Because I think that especially with a character creation that allows you to have more trans representation, I do think that genitals is a part of how I think trans people do identify and feel comfortable in their body or their character's body. So I think that even though you can't see it really ever in the game, I don't know if you can see it in some of the romantic scenes or not, but the same reason of, why are you going through all this trouble? Shay, I think, mentioned this during his LP. Why are you going through all this trouble creating your character when you're not even going to see your character because this is first person? But I mean, you do see your character in a lot of places, like the UI and the manage your character screen, as well as if you're driving in a motorcycle, especially. But
Okay, can I just say that they should have just went totally like in detail, like had multiple dick sizes and like just got all up into the clit,
so that you want sliders? Is that what you're saying, Kathleen? You want more sliders?
I'm sorry.
Zoom-ins, color changes.
If we're gonna go there, let's go there.
Well, if we want to go there, I was at one of the things I didn't say. See, I didn't get into this in the in my LP, but I'll say it now because now that Kathleen's breached the subject, I actually would have wanted more nipple options, because I was very disappointed that the nipple options were just visible or non-visible. Because I'm not I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a genitals person, but on guys I'm a nipples person, and so like shape, color, that's just me, and now everybody knows more about Angel Arts than they ever thought. So the fact that we could do so much with the genitals, but nipples was just on and off, to me was like, oh, that's really disappointing. I would have wanted to.
Half an hour later, anyway, Ark is done with the nipples.
Because it's so integral to my character. Obviously, it's such an important part of my character. So, but anyway.
That's where these
are. Now that we've opened that box.
I will say too, there was like 2 boob sizes, and I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
Like we've got to go there. That was very interesting to me.
Well, I think another thing that was interesting to me, and I, as a programmer, I think I understand why, is one thing I noticed about the random NPCs or the random characters that just are walking by in the street. There's such a vast body type diversity in the models, in all of the characters that you meet. Like Jackie has a very distinct like body type, for example. but you can't have the type, other than a male form or a female form, you can't really deviate too much from their body type. Like the man is just like your very typical Ken, fit, slim, muscular character, and you can't have somebody more like Jackie. And so that was one thing that I thought could have added a little bit more to customizing the realism of your character. So
Yeah.
anyone else want to say anything about genitals or
Anyway, no.
We can move on.
No, that's fine.
So we're gonna. I think I asked ahead of time if my guests wanted to start talking about like story plot stuff in the life paths, in the life path prologues. So we are going to get into that. So if you don't want to be spoiled from a specific life path, feel free to skip over to the next part. I'll try to put a timestamp in the description or something if you just want to get to the part where all of the life paths converge. But do any of you guys have anything you wanted to comment on with your specific life path prologue?
I think I can go because it'll be quick-ish. I've got more questions about my life path than sort of answers at this point. The way it starts, because you have to get into Night City. I felt like it was cool, but it set up the question of like, this is the spoiler, but you did warn people, and I don't know, so be careful with the spoilers in the comments below as well, just in case, because some of us might read things down there after, and we don't want to find out. At least, well, David's plate is out, but some of us might not want to find that out prematurely, so but some of the questions is like, who was the family that V was part of, and are they still out there? Am I still going to find out about what happened to them? Because that's a little bit ambiguous, and I'm part of like the RPer in me is like, are you leaving that ambiguous because you're letting me fill in the blanks, or is that something that's going to be like a late Act 2 going into Act 3 thing? You're going to make me find out something about the roamers out there or whoever I'm a part of, so that becomes part of the Act 3 kind of tie-up for V as a character, as his progression. So I'm kind of looking for those signals, but I feel like as soon as I got the Night City, I had a lot of cool options where it's like, if you're a nomad, you can unlock things in dialogue with people, just because you have that outside perspective, and some of the roamers in the city, like they still have that history too, and so you can key into those pieces, but they don't speak to V, and I'm missing pieces about my personal past here, and that's kind of why I took the nomad. So yeah, it's what I'm looking forward to either finding out. That might be a criticism near the end of the game, right? But or it could be a positive if it's like it really did give me that flexibility as an RPer to kind of fill in the blanks. But it's something I wish I would have known up front.
As I was saying, 10 minutes into my corpo playthrough, I knew I was screwed, because I love how it really felt like there was no win scenario. So my boss lost a position to another one that he wanted, so he's sending me to take care of this position, take care of this girl who got the position, and I can't tell anyone. So, and if I refuse, I die. If I do it, it's a very high risk maneuver. Like, I'm screwed either way. So it shows how the corpos work. Like, not really caring as much about the middleman, more like, how do I vie for position in this great big corpo world. That was a nice little experience. What I also loved about the corpo background is that you knew Jackie from the start. You had a relationship with him. He was a good friend already when you start going in. And I felt that felt very natural then going forward into the main story. Like, okay, we are great pals. We have not just met, and you saved my ass. Now let's go out there and be badasses together.
That's a good point. I didn't realize that you weren't Jackie's friend already in some of the others. I had no idea. That's cool.
I don't believe that's the case.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, in Nomad, you have to get him across, and you got to get him in Night City, so you meet him as part of a cargo maneuver, and then you're that really quick, like a montage. That's you kind of 6 months have passed, and I've bonded with this character, and then you move forward. But you had 6 months with Jackie, like when you start in Night City.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm surprised because I didn't think that the game went any other way. I mean, I shared some stuff with friends, and I wasn't like I didn't realize that it was based on my background. So I actually met Jackie through a heist, and I didn't realize this was something that different people didn't experience. And to me, I think my personality that appealed to me so much is why I fell in love with him, because you meet him and he's trying to jack the same car that you are jacking. And
awesome.
he's like, fuck you, this is my car. And then you start fighting, and then the police show up. And they start arresting you. And luckily you both escape, and you realize, hey, wait, we would make really good partners. And
that's cool.
That's why I fell in love with Jackie. I can't imagine meeting him any other way, because the fact that he was just a scumbag just like me was beautiful. And that's why I fell in love with him as a best friend. He reminded me so much of like the best friends that I had in college. And I don't know. Yeah. I cannot imagine meeting him any other way. It was just so scumbaggy and beautiful.
For me, if I was being 100% honest, I actually was a bit disappointed in the Corpo prologue. And this is the reason why I was disappointed, is because I went into the lifepath prologues thinking it was going to be similar to the Dragon Age origin stories, because those were way more involved and they were longer, and you actually like got into combat and like actually did a quest typically with those origin stories. So I was like kind of expecting, you get to learn a bit about the Corpo world, and you get to meet some key characters that you might meet again later on, and establish some early relationships with characters because you were a Corpo that you may normally not have had relationships with if you were another life path. And then the combat tutorial would come up, and they'd be like, okay, I need you to do this quest for me where you actually like could be in a situation where you might have to defend yourself, or find a clever way to get around it without combat. But at any rate, I expected there to be some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of mission or some sort of quest in Corpo, and we never really got that. All we got was, take this fancy schmancy limo to this bar, which, that part I thought was cool and fun. Because like I said, I like cushy things, and, got to have my champagne. And then I expected more to happen after that altercation with Jackie and I'm not going to reveal too much, but Jackie and the people at the bar. I expected like an actual mission after that, but no, it just went straight into the montage, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And then that was it. And I was like, I don't know, I just felt like there should have been more than just, because I think it was less than an hour. I think the prologue for me took less than an hour, 45 minutes, whereas by comparison in Origins, at least in my first playthrough of Origins, my origin story took a good 2 hours, 2.5 hours, including a quest to get through, for any Origin. And so I felt like the prologues left much to be desired, and it made me feel less at the time that my choice in life path mattered, for me at least, at that moment.
Now that you pointed that out, because I watched your LP, and you're right. You get to the bar, you meet Jackie in that bar, you have that moment, and then boom, you're in a montage. I feel like the Corpo really had the least amount of connection time with Jackie specifically, and so it really impacts Act 1, as we all find out. Like how you connect to Jackie, where I feel like now, like Kathleen looks like the street one. There was it immediately started with that, and then there was likely a chase. I know I had a chase we were smuggling a lizard across the into Night City, and then we got chased, and we had a shootout, and that's how we bonded. It was Jackie had to drive, I had to shoot out the window, and then it's like, hey, we can kind of bond together that way. We can make a good team. Looks like Street had the same thing. You're going to get arrested together. You got to bail out. You got to think about things as a team, and then you bond as a team. Whereas Corpo's like, you met in the bar, but what did you connect? How did you connect, like you two, David and Hark?
Oh yeah, so
How
I
did
have
you
to
find that
violently disagree with Hawk here because I
Okay.
Go
love
ahead.
this.
Yeah,
Oh.
please do.
Just
Please do.
oozes atmosphere. I love this. Like just
Go
being
ahead.
in a limo, sipping your drink, listening to the news, talking to your personal trainer. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
I am that douchebag.
Oh,
And like, oh yeah, I love this. No, and just coming to the bar with Jackie and seeing like we already have a past, and feeling this kind of I'm screwed. I'm what do I do when he's there for me? And as the corporate agent's coming into the bar, he stands up for you. Like he's on the line for you.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
Like you want to take him? You have to go through me. Like we could start shooting here if you want to, but we don't want that, do we? And like he really stuck up for me, like a true friend.
Yeah.
And I personally didn't feel the need for a combat scenario. I felt it more like a second intro. Like, okay, this is your path now. You're a corporate. You're luxurious. You go to bars to meet with your contacts to assassinate corporate agents. So I personally very much liked it. And if you didn't talk, that's totally fine. You're wrong. But
yeah,
yes. No.
Well, I will say though that now that I know that the other life paths meet Jackie during their prologues, while I definitely do think it's really cool to have Jackie already a very well-established like friend or even BFF who stands up for you in Corpo, I do think that there is also a lot of great appeal to RP through, how did you meet Jackie? Like, what were the circumstances of meeting and how did that relationship start? And so I do find that aspect really, really cool as well to be able to experience that the Corpo was not able to experience in the same way. So.
I've just learned y'all are corporate chills, but whatever.
Yeah, keep talking, anarchist.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the annoying little sister. No.
I really wish all four of our characters could just be in like a party together. Like, and just see what would happen. We should maybe on the side, David could like, DM a cyberpunk tabletop RPG that we could play, and we would all have our characters. We would have our video game Cyberpunk 2077 characters, and just see what happens. Who like kills off the others first?
Make the world burn. I don't know what happened.
Oh man.
I'd probably get killed first. Let's be honest.
Everyone that's not corporal and lawful, we just out of the gameplay.
Kathleen can have whatever boobs she wants on her character, you know. It's just But okay, so let's get to the point where the game actually converges, and we go through the montage, which I thought actually was done really well, because it's one of the I think it's one of those things where when you see it the first time you're very confused. You're like, who's this person? Wait, who's that person? And then you realize later on, oh, I think I remember that person from the prologue. And I don't know, I like the approach in that they don't tell, they show. They don't tell you, oh, this is Jackie's mom, or oh, they don't tell you, oh, this is Victor Vector, you'll probably meet him again. They just show you him, and just very, very like rudimentary gestures of Jackie like giving Victor that shake with a hug. Like you can just see that they're close. And so I like the show don't tell aspect of that montage. But then we dive into our first like playable gig or first playable mission, and we meet T-Bug and go through the tutorial, and then we're actually like thrown into combat with the scavengers, I believe, looking for, I don't remember the woman's name, but we're looking for somebody to rescue there. The floor is open for anyone who wants to chat about any of that at all.
Dude, the scavengers build and just the concept behind them was so interesting. I felt like that right away. I felt like I was in the cyberpunk world, because the cyberpunk world is so gritty and dark and effed up. And here's these characters that literally are kind of like abandoning their humanity. They're becoming unhuman in appearance. And there's actually a mechanic in the role-playing game. If you put too many cybernetics in your body, you start to have side effects, because you start to behave less human, and you lose control of your body. So I thought that was a really interesting.
Yeah, are the scavengers part of the Maelstrom gang? Are those the guys? No,
I think they're a separate gang. I think the scavengers and the
I hope I'm
Maelstrom are
not.
two separate gangs.
I hope I'm not confusing them with another gang.
okay, of course I love the Maelstrom gang, like those robotics, almost all cybernetics. But I don't know what the scavengers were.
So the Maelstromers do a lot of, like you said, like facial, especially ocular.
Okay, so I actually confused them with the Maelstrom gang. So the Maelstrom gang is the one with like the
right,
yeah,
right,
okay.
all the
Sorry about
cybernetics
that.
in their
Yeah.
eyes. But the scavengers, they scavenge, like they kidnap people to scavenge their cybernetics, so they could like sell them on the black market or something.
Okay, you're gonna have to correct me a lot with the names.
That's
because
fine.
I'm really bad with names. But yeah, I guess I'll get back into that later.
Okay.
But yeah,
We'll
the
get to that,
scavengers are really interesting because, speaking of the role playing game, I don't want to bring that up too much, but really, that's a big part of the game, is the fact that you can steal body parts and cybernetics from like corpses and stuff, and it's just a really jarring moment. Like, it's a very jarring part of the game. It's really messed up and dark.
Yeah, it's like kidnapping someone to steal their kidneys. It's pretty much the same.
But it's
I think that's what they were going
big industry in this world. It's huge. Like, to the point where if you see someone passed out on the curb, you're thinking, okay, I will definitely steal. This is how like real it is. It's like, if you see someone passed out on the curb, you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna steal those cybernetics because I can pay for lunch tomorrow, right? So
true. That's
how dark the world is.
It's like a mix of like organ harvesting with just petty theft, with stealing someone's iPad or phone, or you know, like, these are items you move so that you can pay for things.
And people are just so desperate in this world where that's an option at times, you know?
Yeah.
And I like how they kind of try to teach us stealth and stuff like that. I'm like, let's do this. So I can't really remember how they looked because it was all blood and body parts. So it could have been the Maelstrom gang. I don't know. But it was nice. I love the little combat, first real taste of combat. We can talk a bit more about combat later if you want. But yeah, I liked the initial part. What I loved most about the first mission is the inclusion of the trauma team, because I love everything about the trauma team lore kind of thing. Like, if you have a platinum card, we're gonna be there in 3 to 4 minutes. We have 2 medics, 2 pilots, 2 combat specialists, and we don't care how it looks on the ground. If it's like police or gangers, whatever, we're gonna do everything to get to you. We're gonna secure the zone, grab you, get you into the ambulance, and go away like a combat medic. And then I just love that scene when it swoops in and like, hey, get out of here. Mwah.
As long as you can pay for it. As long as you can pay for your premiums.
That was another really gruesome
if you can't,
thing.
Yeah, it's
There's a really gruesome thing about the game. Is like, it was very like, okay, if you're rich, you get healthcare, right?
Yep.
So
it's scary, of course. Yeah, but the concept is really nice.
Yeah, I like that opening scene. I think it set up the world really nicely, like from a theme perspective, and just to sell like the idea of the game to the player that's coming into possibly this genre for the first time. Things aren't pretty, things are gritty. Everyone is not, I mean, yes, they're up, everyone's against everyone, but it's more than that. It's like, this is the status, this is the world, that this is the status quo, you know, of this world. And you either adapt to it or you become just a throwaway piece. You don't become any different than the stuff that gets manufactured and sold out there. People are just items at this point in this world. And I think it goes back to the whole, again, that even the bathtub scene, like the organ harvesting like motif that was implying, but it's a bit of a reverse. It's not for the organs, but it kind of is in this world. Like cybernetics are literally your organs sometimes in this world. And so it shows that, you know, the world is a bad place, you know, and then it goes and it has that contrast that David was talking about, where then these groups will swoop in and they will preserve you. But of course, like Hark said, you have to have the money. And so there's this dynamic that really perpetuates in this world being what it is. And this is what you signed up for. So which, you know, how do you now fit in regardless of your background? Because at that point, that scene is so jarring regardless of your start. Like if you think about it, it's kind of in the middle of all three origins, in the middle in the sense that you kind of get to that scene and you go, oh shit, this is where we're at, you know? And so if you're a corporal, you got to go, okay, this is kind of the dirtier version of the world that I might not have seen because I had all the money to like not see this part of the world. But then as a street, it's like, okay, now you're getting in the dirty of it, and you're probably close to this harvesting scenario, because on the street probably happens all the time. People are jacking people all the time. That came out really wrong. And then if you're like a nomad, it's like you're coming into this and you're like, this is a city, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, what did I get into? Like, I don't have any of this out in the wild, you know? So I think it really kind of resets you to go, okay, now the world that you're going to exist in for the next however many hours, this is what it's going to be like. You're in the center of it. It's a good kickoff point.
Since David touched on this, I'm actually curious, since we didn't bring it up, what is each of you all's play style or character build or combat style when you enter these missions? Are you more of a go in guns blazing? Do you go in blades slashing and hacking? Do you stealth your way unseen? Do you do some net running, net hacking? What are your guys' builds? And you know.
Well, I built myself as a tank. Like, more armor the better. Light machine gun, shotgun, go in, no finesse.
Nice.
Really.
Wow.
Machine gun, shotgun. Okay.
Yeah. And next time I play it, I'm gonna change up my gameplay, I think. But after a while, you just become unstoppable. And like, oh. Everyone died. I just played on normal also, so I probably could have played on hard, I think.
What led you to deciding on that?
I always love being able to take punishment as my characters. Like, the bigger the armor, the better.
Nice.
Be in the forefront. None of this sneaking around, mumbo jumbo. Valiant fight, face to face, knock him down, shoot him in the face. Done and done. I know how I am when I'm sneaking. I'm sneaking for 5 minutes. I get detected. I have to kill everyone. Like, just skip the 5 minute part. And just go in guns.
There you go.
Like, okay, I'm done it. But I also played around with net running, and that was way more fun than I thought it would be. When I started doing quick hacks and stuff. Like, oh, this could be really powerful. But
it's the magic of the game.
Yeah.
Basically.
But I just did it for fun for a few minutes before I went in, guns blazing. Like, okay, that's done now. Let's do the real job. So yeah, no finesse, guns blazing, armor, and lots of technical, so I can open doors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How about the other two?
Well, I'm gonna go next because it's the complete opposite of David. I am like, absolutely. I will take the time. I'm a neck breaker. I don't even go in with weapons if I can do it. That's the concept for this character was taking blades to a gunfight. That's what he was a character from Shadowrun. I got decimated very often, but it was one of those, like, I just like the line of like, let's take blades to a gunfight and see how long I last. Like, you got to dodge better, you got to move faster, you got to sneak, like, you got to stay hidden. And I think
so you mean you have to use skill? Because I didn't. I just stood there like, I'm 40 years old. I'm old now. I can't play games. It's
when it got dirty in fights for me, it was a crisis. Like, it was literally like I had to learn fast how to play the game with that kind of scenario. Because when bullets fly, like when you're playing a guy with low armor, with all you have is movement and eventually blades. But at that first battle, I don't even think I had blades yet, right? Or I did, but I didn't. I don't know what happened. But it's when bullets fired, there's panic in the air for sure. Like it's not as slick as just charge and take people out. But yeah, stealth all the way.
I was trying to figure out what my play style was at the beginning of the game because I wasn't sure what to expect. You know, there's some games that I like playing stealthily. There's sometimes that I enjoy tactics, but basically it ended up like every game that I tried to be stealthy and secretive. And in other words, I tried, but I always got caught and then ended up having to shoot some heads, you know? So
I mean, if there's
I
no
got my
one around,
headshots in. Pew pew pew.
yeah, if there's no one around to tell you about, tell people about you, it's stealthy, right? I totally hear you.
There you go.
I really tried. Every time I enter battle, I'm like, I'm gonna try to be stealthy, and it always fucks up because I like take out one guy, and then everyone else sees me because I really didn't like time it right, and then I have to shoot some heads off. So that's how it goes.
So for me, when I play RPGs like this, I like to be I like to play the mage. So, you know, Biotics in Mass Effect, obviously Mage in Dragon Age. So in this one, more so you'll see me in Act 2 more than Act 1, but definitely I'm like hacking all the way, like just spamming the quick hacks on everything under the sun as they refresh. That was me. I wasn't really big on stealth either, even though you certainly can stealth with quick hacks, and quick hacks help a lot with stealthing. For the most part, I was very much like a mage, I think, in playstyle.
I probably have comments that I probably have some comment on what you just said, the whole stealth thing with hacking, because my character is not going to hack. Like, I feel like I got to get to at least 4 because there's some things I can at least access if I really need to take off those cameras, because the cameras will, like, they've destroyed my character. Because, of course, other net runners can hack me through the camera. So I'm hiding in a room, but I'm getting damaged. I'm like, what the fuck is hitting me? Like, I don't understand. Like, and that took me a while to figure out, oh, I'm getting hacked by the cameras. Goddamn. But then if I shoot the camera out, everyone rushes me. So I'm like, okay, so what's the point of stealth?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bit of a break in the game right now. I'm forced to be a fighter, where I was like, I am not prepared for this. Like, I don't know how to reset this so that I have the power back, you know? But yeah. I feel like you need a mix of that. Net runner.
The cameras will fuck you up.
They
constantly fuck me up.
Hard lesson.
My character, again, for people who are watching me in Act 2, the cameras were actually my best friend. I destroyed people with the cameras. Destroyed people, but you'll see that more later. And my weapon of choice is actually, like Shay, my weapon of choice is specifically the katana. I love the katana in this game, and I normally don't like...
It's so great, though. Even I've used it. It's so great.
Yeah. I normally don't like melee weapons and this kind of thing. Like the melee in Fallout, for example, I was like, melee is okay in Fallout, but there's some such fun guns in Fallout that I just kept being ranged. But in this game, I'm like, no, katana all the way. Like, I love this thing. It's so awesome. But,
I don't know, Kathleen, if you've seen the meme, the guy like Shame, where he loads shotgun shells into his shotgun. Like, oh, we take down one guy and then like everyone is alerted, and then, oh well, guess we gotta do this the hard way.
That's our play style. That's how we do it.
That's how we do
it.
We try.
We tried.
Yeah. There's always a camera, there's always a dude. Like, well, it's their fault.
Oh, jeez.
They haven't spotted me. They wouldn't have to be dead.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
So let's move forward. We completed our first playable mission. We make our way back to Watson. We check out our apartment. And there's a lot of fun things you can do in there. From the TV alone, if you spend some time at least watching TV. And yeah, the map starts to open up a little bit. At least Watson opens up a bit more. So let's talk about anything that you want to talk about prior to getting to Misty and Victor Vector.
Me as a Bioware gamer and not I haven't played Witcher or anything. I press M, and the map comes up, and I'm like, whoa! There's so many icons everywhere. What is this? Like,
so overwhelming. Yes.
That was kind of my first reaction, I think. But I just personally just loved walking around in my apartment complex and buying guns and talking to people. Also, just loving how you jack into things by like this thing in your arm and into your head. It's love it how it looks. I was not a huge Cyberpunk fan before. I know about cybernetics and stuff. That's cool, but just how they made it look when you connect things and how it looks on your arms and face. I just love the aesthetic.
I think my immediate reaction when I first saw V's apartment at this point was, I wish the Corpo prologue was long enough for me to see what my apartment was like when I was a Corpo.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, I would have loved to have seen my amazing Corpo apartment, even if it was just for like 5 minutes. I would have loved to have seen it. So that was like the first thing that went through my head.
Yeah, it sort of would have mattered to that context though, right? Because it would have given the Corpo that perspective of like, this is what you had, and after whatever event you went through, now this is what you get, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or even in the other, from the other paths, like if you were a nomad, like this is what you had as a nomad, and now, you know, this is what you have now that you're in Night City. Like you know, the same thing can be said there as well. But.
Yeah, I was just so amazed how this apartment must, like, I'm trying to put a price tag on that apartment because I think my apartment right now, I live in like I live in the most expensive neighborhood in Taipei, so I pay, you know, like kind of iffy prices for Taiwan. But like my apartment now is about the size of maybe these like bedroom and bathroom area. So when I saw this whole like the fact that I could like walk around for a decent amount of time, I was just like, holy shit, how rich are you, V? Like how many banks did you rob to get here?
Yeah. Well, not only that, not only the apartment itself, but like the entire building. V's in a mega building, which actually is a big deal because if you read any of the lore about mega buildings, they are built to have all of the amenities, everything you need, such that you actually don't ever have to technically leave the mega building to do your shopping, to do your recreational activities, because it's packed with restaurants and supermarkets and bars and, you know, bowling alleys and whatever, pools, which I think makes a lot of sense because Night City is not a very friendly city to certain people, and heck, I feel like if it was me in real life, not V, I would probably be holed up in my mega building if I could afford it and just never leave the building.
I'm never gonna leave my safe space.
Yes, that's pretty much like, again, in Fallout senses, that's my vault. Like, I would just hide away in the vault and not go out into the wilderness of the city if I had a choice. But so I'm sure that in of itself is a pretty penny, or pretty Eddie.
Yeah, just having someone like take out your garbage for you is a luxury in Taiwan. So
okay, I thought you were talking about the game
Taiwan,
for a second there.
No, here in Taiwan,
front door to the hallway. No.
Here in Taiwan, you have to chase the garbage men at a certain time and like bring your garbage to them. So like if someone can just put their garbage in a spot, that's like so luxurious to me. So
I kind of brought it up when I brought up eddies or European dollars, I think is what an eddy is. The slang in this game is really cool. Like I came in, I didn't know what a gonk was, I didn't know what a choom was, and now I almost feel like I'm gonna start using that in my day-to-day vocabulary. You're such a gonk. You're such hey choom. So
yeah, it's supreme.
We got a delta.
I don't think I'm gangster enough to use.
Yeah. Do they have those slang words in the tabletop lore, Kathleen? Or is this a video game thing they added?
I'm not really deep into the lore. I didn't notice that when I played it, but
Okay.
it's possible. But I didn't notice it when I played it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it is. It would be in the lore and the writing of the source material or the game master guides, because it's that flavor text is something that a GM has to translate or adapt to it or know how to like use it freely. It's kind of like Planescape as a setting. It had a lot of just words that you could use that were based on other things, cultures, ethnicities, and stuff like that. But it kind of like mashes together in Planescape, and it's sort of the same thing here. There's so many cultures that get forced to come together, where you have a lot of the Latino or Hispanic or just all of these like different slangs that come from all these cultures, but they kind of get appropriated and pushed through the next 70 years or 100 years, whatever have you. So yeah, I think it adds flavor to the game, even when you're reading the databases, right? Like you can't help but start to see these words appear over and over and over again, and it's like I think I'm starting to think in these words. It's kind of it's a fun kind of moment to have. Immersive.
Yeah.
Speaking of immersion, and I touched this a little bit with body types of just the character models, but not only that, never in any other game that I've played, please tell me if you've witnessed anything like this in other games, but just the outfits and the fashion and the things that, just in general what the characters wear that are not named NPCs, they're just random NPCs that are just walking by. They all have their own like look, and you can kind of tell their
where they come from,
what their background, their history, just based on their look and their style. And I play games like Fallout where at some point they all seem to repeat themselves. Like you see one, but then you sort of see like a cookie cutter of that later, and they try to diversify the outfits in games like Fallout. But here it's just so vibrant and so diverse. I don't think I've ever seen a repeated NPC yet walking around in the street, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, agreed. Sometimes
the NPCs are really impressive. Sorry, I was just gonna say it's very impressive.
Yeah, sometimes I'll see the haircut. Like if there's certain haircuts that are they're so unique. Like mine has the braided, but the ridged braided, and then there's the mohawk, which of course will stand out. But even that said, geez, you look at the clothing, like you said, and sometimes it's not even what they're wearing and just their immediate surface layer visuals. It's how they walk. It's how they compose themselves. Like you can see someone who's in a hurry, or like maybe they got problems, at home, or maybe they got like maybe they're kind of tweaking out. I saw a business lady walking through the bazaar area, and I was like, what, you shouldn't be here. Like I was immediately, and I had a comment that out loud, and I realized I did it. I was like, that's because she stood out like a sore thumb. Like she shouldn't have been there, right? But she's a corpo, so she probably she has ways to take care of herself, right? But it's just that immediate, I don't know, feeling. They definitely present a vibe about them. Now this game is impeccable for that.
I know that Shay has mentioned this in his LP, but just all of the signs and the advertisements just all over the city. You can easily just spend an entire Let's Play video just reading all of the signs around the city. Like, heck, I was trying to not do an entire video dedicated to just watching television because there was so many cool things. They did the news and like all of the commercials. The commercials are like so funny and so amusing in this game. And not only that, it also builds the lore for you, so all foods, because they don't really eat real fish or real meat. It's all like it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so I don't know, it's just they do the designers and developers just did a great job just building this world and just making it so immersive, and it's just the creativity when it comes to creating all these advertisements and stuff.
There's also the kind of the darker side of that, because it's so intrusive and so on the nose. Everything from the sexuality to the inhumane things that are like always pumping up the cutesy voice, and the imagery don't mix in, and it feels like, whoa, this is too much for me. Like everywhere I can see like, oh, this is this lady again, and this sexual sign there and this, and it adds to the intrusive, dark place that Night City is. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this would never be acceptable now, whatever they are showing right now, because this is so fucking out there. Like, it's kind of
Glorious.
when I watched the ads, I was just like kind of shivering a bit, like, ooh, this is some fucked up things going on right now. But I liked it, but it adds to the darkness of the world.
Yeah, I would say that I think the advertisements are not too unreal. I think they're a bit of a parody of advertisements that we see currently. I think it's an exaggeration, right? It's a parody. The whole sexualization of things that aren't sexual it's caused me to laugh out loud many times. Like there's this one ad for like dog food, and it has like it's like a zoom in of a girl's breast or a person's breast, I don't know, and then like there's like dog food between the boobs. Have you seen that one?
No.
Wait.
No, I have to look out for that.
That's awesome.
There is someone holding dog food between their boobs.
Oh my gosh.
Was this just randomly in the street? Was this
What?
randomly in the street, or did you just see this in a building or something? Or
Commercial on
Yeah,
TV?
I think I saw it as a street sign. It was
okay,
a
street
Yeah.
sign. Interesting.
And I just literally just started laughing out loud. I was
Great.
like, this is so great. It's just like
Absurd.
this bizarre
Like,
image
yeah.
of because I mean we've seen absurd sexuality in advertisements before, like sexualizing a hamburger. That like a hamburger is not sexual at all. Like how far are we from sexualizing dog food, right? So and then there's these dark, like, I don't know, I know this is gonna be on YouTube, so I don't want to like say the word, but
I
there's
think I'm
like
with you. I know exactly where you might be
yeah,
going.
like there's like people holding guns to their faces, and I'm like,
That one was
why is this an advertisement? It's so fucked up.
Oh my
It is.
You know?
It is. And that's why, like, I see these and like, this is not okay. But
Yeah,
it fits
yeah. I
well.
think that's
It
when you
fits the
said
theme.
you shivered, I thought of that.
Yeah.
advertisement.
I shivered when I saw. So I was watching TV in my apartment. I was watching a commercial where they had like the Leave It to Beaver 50s family music playing in the background, but it was an advertisement for guns. Basically, it's like your entire family can buy these guns, and they have this very like typical mom and dad and these little two children. You have this like 6-year-old boy like brandishing this semi-automatic like AK-47 whatever rifle, and they're like, we've got weapons for the whole family, like custom made for even the littlest of hands. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
wow. And I'm like, it makes sense. Like, I get that this is the world you're in.
Yeah, as an American, that makes all the sense. That makes all the sense.
Yeah.
Like, that is a very specific criticism
Yeah.
that's being portrayed in those advertisements.
Yeah. But
It's
no,
weird.
it was very shocking to me. But again, like, there's a reason why this game is rated like the way it's rated.
Yeah, if I get to see one more Milfgard poster, I'm gonna freak.
That's correct.
The other thing I love about the world is just so much influence of just different cultures. Like, obviously, there's a huge Asian influence because you've got the Japanese, Arasaka. You've also got the Chinese in Kabuki. And you've got, all the Valentinos and stuff. I think I'm getting a little bit more into Act 2, so I'm going to stop right there. But just in general, like, there's a lot of really cool influences from different cultures, outside of just your stereotypical like white European culture or American culture, and I love seeing that fusion in this city.
I also love, speaking of that, speaking on that, I should say, I love that there's this automatic translation when a character speaks another language. Like it shows the process in the subtitles of it translating.
Yes.
And as someone who is struggling my ass off to learn Chinese, I just wish that was real. So,
yeah.
I mean, I can't wait to Act 2 is really where it goes. All right, you're good to go. You know, and I cannot wait to just be free from, and not that I don't want to get back to the plot, but the way it ends, we can get there, but the way it ends, it really just goes, all right, your life, you know, do whatever you want. I think the sandbox mode is going to wreck me for many hours, I think.
I thought I was overwhelmed at the beginning of Act 1. Beginning of Act 2, everyone and their mother is calling you in Act 2. But yeah, I'm not going to get even further in Act 2, but that was just like, too much stuff. I don't know how Shay's going to do it.
I got hyper focus. I got a problem. I can either really focus on something, but then it's hard for me to shift off that focus. So for me, it's like the commercials. Like I've wanted to watch the commercials so badly, but I knew this was happening, and I was like, no, I can't, because I know this is gonna be hours. Because I can't see a different, like the same thing's not appearing right in my head. Is like going, this, I need to just sit through this and like absorb it all and then move on. You know. But the city itself is like zone to zone. It's not even just like Watson versus West Side, or you know, it's like these zones have little landmarks or something in them, and even those have enough visuals there where whether it's advertising or the people walking around and they have a look to them, and I don't know, man, everywhere I turn, I'm like, fuck, I can't move forward here, man. Like every 5 minutes I feel like I'm stuck, either getting distracted and swerving off course, or I'm just I just want to look at things, and sometimes I'm like, but I also kind of move things forward. And that's a little bit of that dichotomy with like YouTube, doing things for YouTube, which sometimes it does kind of butt heads with your natural tendencies as a gamer to want to do certain things one way, but then feel like, oh shit, there's an audience watching, you know what I mean? Like I can't, either they sign up for that, but if they didn't, you know, you kind of, I don't know, there's a bit of pressure there. But yeah, the game is overloaded. It's a stimulus, like hyper. Yeah, it's
That's fun you mentioning that, because I was like that in the beginning, but then I'm like, there's no way I can absorb everything. So I just kind of be like, okay, I'm just gonna immerse myself in this and just walk. If people talk, let them talk. If there's an ad, let it go.
I gotta hear them.
Just immerse myself in the world. Like I've been here. I know these ads. I know these people. People talk all the time around me. But again, like in my Bioware games, I hook up to two people talking and just, okay, what are these guys saying? Is it funny? Okay, but there's so much here. So I'm like, okay, just let it go. Let it go.
Yes.
Just walk, David. Just walk. Just be one with the world.
I can't do it.
Oh, I understand.
Some of these like random people on the streets, like if you actually stop and listen, I'm like, someone scripted out like a very small plot here of like a mox that has to go and take care of some dude that's beating on some friend, and it's like it's a father that's beating on some friend, the daughter, but the friend is telling a mox person and getting that buy-in, so the mox can go out and take care of this. And it's like, I could have. This was an entire dialogue exchange that was a mini plot that would have just gone away. Like I don't know if this comes up in the game, if it's repeated dialogue, you know, and it gave so much flavor to the mox, you know, and what they stand for. Because I mean, it's like literally like a flash fiction. It's like, no, we can't do anything about this. She hears about the story, then she gets convinced, and it's like, okay, tell your friend that not gonna be a problem anymore. And it's like, oh, little arcs in these things, you know. Even the corporal building, which again happens later, but Jesus Louise, like if you stop and listen to some of those corporal people when you're kind of sneaking in and doing that one mission, they are saying some rough things. Like the corporals are not they're not good people. They get what they want.
It's me. I'm so hooked up on immersion in all my games. Like it's dumb because I've seen Hark. You go around looting the place before people talking behind you. And I'm like, what are you doing? The immersion, the scene. No, not really. But I'm like, hyper focus, screw everything else. Here's the story. They're talking to me. I need to talk to them before they say it another time, because then the immersion breaking. So I'm just gonna sit here. If I get I see the assault rifle. It's right there. I'm gonna grab it in just 1 minute.
Yes.
That shit is glowing now, though. Do you understand? It's glowing now.
So, I can totally understand like looting the place, but sometimes you just have to. My character will go up to Jackie and talk to him right now. Not, I'm just gonna grab your rifle.
Yeah.
Oh, and these cookies and these dollars you have on your table.
Yeah.
Oh, you like this juice? Well, it's mine now.
No, that bar is cleared out before I talk to Jackie. That's the.
I will say that in my Let's Play, V's priorities are very well defined. So so there's somebody might have something to say, be like, oh wait, priorities, and I start grabbing stuff. Okay, what did you have to say? Or like, oh man, like this hat has only 12 armor, but this other hat has 50 armor, but it does not go with my outfit at all. Priorities, so I go with the lesser armor because it matches.
I do the same thing. I'm
some
like,
of the outfits are
I
atrocious.
know the armor. I know the armor rating is lower, but I'm gonna choose this because it's cuter. So.
And you don't look like David said, you don't look like a clown. Like a 4-year-old clown dressed you up. Before
that's
cool
my
purple helmet.
My character thankfully can look like a clown. That's literally what he likes to go for. What did I say to you, Hark, last night? I called him a clown. What did I say? A clown gangster hobo? I forget what I call it.
That's okay because you're not built for stealth. So if you stick out like a sore thumb.
No, you're right. No, who cares about the armor? If I'm hit, I'm going to go down. I'm not going to go for the. I'm not going to gear up for that.
Yes, one of the things I went pretty much into crafting, and one of the best items I could craft was these pants, like low cut shorts. I'm like, I'm never gonna. No, that's not my style. Like
athletic sports look like this.
They're really good, but.
You're self-conscious about your legs, about your V's legs.
Yep.
David.
Yep.
All right. That's
very much so.
Fine. Well, moving right along with the main storyline. So eventually, you meet up with Jackie. You actually have a lunch or a meal together before going over and meeting Misty and Vector, the Ripper Doc. I guess the first Ripper Doc that you officially meet. Thoughts on any of that?
Oh, Misty's so cute.
Misty's cute. I like her.
It's her mannerism. That's just. Oh.
She stands out in the setting. Like they give her, and it's like she is almost not anti-cyberpunk, but she's all for the aesthetics, not aesthetic. That's what I'm saying. Like spirituality. Like it's very much on the humanity side of consciousness, as opposed to slipping into what the world is giving, which is consumer cyberware.
Is that like hope in your eyes? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I love her vibe. I love what she stands for. She just feels like a great respite, like a great place. Like if you just need to take a break from all the craziness and nutsoids of outdoors. Like Misty has, I think, this very, what is it called?
Authentic, natural,
authentically disarming personality. Is what I was on to say.
Have you guys seen Blade Runner?
Mm-hmm. Both.
Hell yeah.
The first one, yeah. She really reminds me of Pris, the replicant.
Her hairstyle.
Yeah, and even the makeup bit, like
yeah.
And that's kind of cyberpunky, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Blade Runner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
very much
one of
so.
the grandfathers. Yeah. The genre. Yeah.
How about Victor?
I just love the first person scene when he puts in the cybernetics. That was so cool. I was hoping that was going to go on forever for all the cybernetics you put in, but yeah, just putting your hands anesthetic, see how it work, like taking out your eye, taking in your eyes, stuff like that. Oh, this looks so cool. Like booting up. It seemed like real.
Yeah.
Like it's authentic.
Right.
Like this is how it should work. Like
especially from a first-person view, like you feel like you're. I said I feel like I'm in the dentist chair, but like to the extreme in the dentist chair, basically.
They get good anesthetics up in these places.
Yeah.
I really like Victor. I liked him right away. I like his vibe. What you said about being in the dentist chair, it's not quite that vibe. It's more to me like being in the tattoo artist chair. There's a level of like professionalness to it, but it's very like punk rock kind of in nature. So yeah, I mean, he just has more of a tattoo artist type of vibe to him, and I immediately liked him. I immediately kind of was drawn to this character. I don't know if he just kind of reminds me of. There's just something so human about some of these characters, some of these NPCs, that I just feel like I kind of know a version of them in real life. So that's how I felt when I met him. I was like, yeah, he just feels so real. He feels like someone I would sit down with and like maybe get a tattoo with or something like that. So yeah.
It felt very, very safe with him, like when he started working
Yeah.
and talking, like, yeah, nobody's business. Yes, also how casual it is. Like, oh, let's install some cybernetics. That's like part of the world. Like, oh yeah, let's give you this smart link here and do this here and new eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seems very professional, but also kind of gritty in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't want to forget Jackie, because I think the fact that Jackie does have close relationships with not only Misty but also Victor Vector, and you get to see how Jackie interacts with both actually in these scenes. It just makes everything feel more intimate, and again, further through Jackie meeting these characters, through Jackie's interactions, I think helps draw you in and helps become more attached and more invested in characters like Misty and Victor. So
yeah, yeah, he has a relationship, right, with
yeah, he has a relationship with
Misty?
Misty, an implied. I don't know if they call it anything, if they call it dating or what, but there definitely seems to be something there. And this is the part where I personally really started to get attached to Jackie, because at the beginning I wasn't really sure what I felt about him, because he just, again, me being admittedly biased just by looking at him, I don't know if he'd be a character that I would necessarily grow attached to very quickly. But once I actually really got to sit down and talk to him, having a meal with him and actually just watching the way that he interacts with some of his friends, I'm like, I really like this guy. Like, he's really cool. And I knew going in that he wasn't romanceable. And I was so disappointed that he wasn't romanceable. I was like, oh my gosh, I would totally like romance the snot out of this man, even though even physically, not just because of his, nothing to do with his body type, but like more because of the tattoos and everything. He's not really my ideal type physically, generally speaking, but like there's just something about him that just really drew him and essentially got me attracted to him, I guess. And now,
but Jackie in a suit is okay?
Oh, we're gonna get to the Jackie in a suit. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
Well, I'll just say it was the opposite for me. I was immediately attracted to Jackie as a person when I first met him. He just felt very familiar to me, like a lot of these characters do. Like, they just feel familiar, and I related to him a lot because he reminds me of the friends I had growing up. Like, growing up in Florida, I always felt kind of out of the loop with like my friends speaking Spanish around me, and shit, and like just like insulting me. So I had to like learn a little bit to like get around it. So yeah, Jackie reminds me a lot of my friends growing up. So yeah.
How about Shane, David? Like, how did you guys get attached to Jackie in any shape or form around this time, or what were your experience with this character?
Totally. I like that guy. He's like this lovable grunt guy. Like, he's got your back. And coming from the corporate background, when he stood up for me, like really putting his life on the line, just meant even more for me. The way you talk to him, the way you act around him, it just oozes this friendship.
Very natural.
So yeah, I got attached. Yeah, I got really attached. Like a good best friend.
I feel like the voice actor did such a good job of like being
sold it.
Yes, totally sold it.
Being friendly and being lovable. You
but
know?
still a total bad A.
I don't know. Every time he called me out, and he was like, "Hey, Chica," I was like,
How about you, Shay? Like, or Jackie, or really anything else about these scenes?
Yeah, I'll say I'll speak to the Jackie one. It's the opening from the Nomad perspective, because I thought I was literally smuggling him into Night City is how I kind of took that scene. I thought it was one of those tropes where I got to smuggle something, but I can't look in the box. So he's got a box. I got to get him across the border of Night City, and then there's an altercation with the people at the border. And then we have that shootout. Like they know something's up, and Jackie's got to be the drive guy, and I got to be the shoot guy. And it's I would have to say, like, I came out of that scene going, I don't know how I'm supposed to, because you get to the safe house, and I don't know how I'm supposed to connect with this guy, because the game, like, I know narratively the game was like, this is your bonding moment. Like, we're about to kick you off, so this is going to be a character that you got to stick with. And I'm like, yeah, but we literally, like, this guy he put my life at risk, and I was safe out there, and he brought me in here, and this is like foreign territory for me. And I mean, strangely enough, my character is based on a lizard man, and so it's we were smuggling a chameleon or a lizard, or and it's, for me, it was like, oh god, that might have been like an accidental bonding moment, because this guy likes the lizard, and so of course, like, now he's got to be a cool guy, and I bonded there slightly, but the montage helped, the 80s style montage. You're at the club together, you got into brawls together. He, like, that pushing up the guy up against the dumpster. I was like, okay, that might have been a cool scene with these two bros out there, and in the streets. But at the same time, I was like, but how long has he been doing this life? And that happened to me the later I got into Act 1. I was like, because T-Bug gets introduced, I'm like, wait, so did he introduce me to T-Bug, and then how long were they doing something? And because, like, what is their history on this, whether on the street or whether as like runners? And I'm kind of just like tagging along. I'm this dude that they just pull into this, and I was really trying to find out why I was putting myself at risk to be a runner. So I had to kind of find that motivation, and it wasn't Jackie. But I don't want to get ahead of our talks here. But then it got to the end of Act 3, and there was a moment that happened in that heist that I don't know what it was. I don't know again if it was the voice acting that happened to get to me, but yeah, we can get to that point when we get to the taxi moment, and it's like, shit, I didn't think I was, I didn't think I was connecting with this fictional character, right? But there's definitely there's discourse that happens in those moments where I'm like, oh, okay, that's sort of like, yeah. I didn't think that was getting to me, but it's definitely getting to me, yeah.
So right after talking with Victor, Vector, and Misty, we then meet Dexter Deshawn. He rolls up, he tells you to get into his car. And this is where, for me, I felt like, okay, now this is where things get real. Yeah. And I felt so nervous going into this man's car. I felt like I was going in for a job interview, but a job interview where if I don't say the right thing
on the line, yeah.
Right. If I don't say the right thing, or if I don't do a good job, this guy can like just mess me up or worse. And so I was like, I have to make this is game time. Like, I need to make sure I say the right things. I need to make sure I behave the way that that whole scene was great for me in the sense that I was super nervous, but in a really great way, as he was talking to me about the heist and the plan, and honestly sizing me up. I felt he was sizing me up.
Yeah, I had no strong feelings either way. At least not initially. Like, he was the fixer who was gonna set us up for life. So yeah, it was just a cool scene when he went through the plan. I like that.
I felt played. I felt like I was definitely being assessed, but also like I was a pawn, and I had that feeling most of the way through. And yeah, there's a moment with Evelyn. I don't know how many scenes, like how many divergents there are, but there's a moment where you can kind of make a decision, right? And it's one of those, shit, I mean, I don't know. I'm just learning about fixers. Like, the RP against side of things is like, I don't know. Am I in trouble here? Like, is this guy just using me as a pawn? Am I a throwaway piece? Like, I don't understand like what the dynamic is here at that layer, whether it's middleman or up above him, like the Evelyn styles or whoever's. Like, I don't know anything about this, but I want to learn it. And I kind of want to do this for Jackie at the end of the day. So I had to like play the game, but at the same time, yeah, definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah, I actually would say that that's a criticism of this part of the game that I have is they don't really establish how you should feel about like Evelyn or Dexter, you know, so I don't really know what side to take. They definitely put you on a side, but I don't really have enough information to take a side, and I wish that they had given us enough information for us to take that side. And so I kind of like Googled it. I know I should. People like get on my shit about this, and this is why I like not having to do Let's Plays anymore, because people used to say, you can't do this. Like, that's a bad thing to do. But like, it's my gameplay. This is why I love it.
Yes.
I love that I don't have to get judged anymore. I want to do it. I'm going to Google it. Like, so I Googled it, and then I made my decision.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, but I would say I agree with what you said about Dex. Just, I felt like he's sizing you up. He's trying to intimidate you. But also, I've had enough experience with having to do that in my field, interestingly enough. So like, I know how to play that game of like, someone sizes me up, I know how to like play it back. So I felt like I've been here, I've done that. You play your cards, you're not gonna get anywhere. So I wasn't intimidated, you know.
So one thing that I wanted to bring up, Kathleen, because I believe of the four of us, you are the only female V. You have the only female V.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, through your experience through the game so far, does the fact that you are a female character, you know, bumping up with really strong male characters like Dexter Deshawn, did that... I don't want to say intimidated you. Like, did you feel that in any way affected how you role played your V, navigating through these very strong men?
I think that's a really good point to bring up, because in the real world, I have to constantly prove myself.
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant. Right.
Like, and this is like a reoccurring thing for me as an educator is bosses tend to not take me as seriously
because you're a woman.
I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to play the whole woman card. I'm saying this from experience of just like comparing myself with my male coworkers, is that I'm constantly having to kind of macho myself up to get respect from not only my students but my employers. So what I found really interesting about this game is it doesn't really treat you any differently.
Right.
And I find that as a bit of a wish fulfillment. It's not realistic, because in this circumstance, if I'm getting in the car with a mob boss, I'm gonna be building myself up. Like, I'm just saying, from my personal experience, I'm gonna be hinting at the knife in my pocket. I'm going to be like hinting at my personal like combat experience or whatever. I'm going to be trying to buff myself up because I seem vulnerable. So in my personal experiences, when I'm in those situations, I'm trying to toughen myself up because I seem like a good target. Where, however, V is not seen as a target. V is not treated any differently, despite her being a woman, or feminine character, if you choose to be non-binary or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of unrealistic, but it's kind of like a wish fulfillment. Like, I'm constantly like, oh, these characters are respecting me. They're not throwing jabs. They're not sexually harassing me. And this is very unrealistic because I experience these things on a daily basis.
Oh, that's so sad.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very sad. But, yeah. You know, like, yeah, it's just going to a job interview and not having to worry about the boss, like, sexually harassing you. That's very rare.
Jesus.
So yeah.
Well, thank you for opening up a little bit and for sharing that. I know that I'm planning on playing this game again as a female V, and I'm trying to look at it as much as possible. I'm not a woman myself, obviously, but looking as much as possible of how my female V would take on these, like you said, like having to prove myself a bit more than my male V may have had to. Because of that, from a role-playing perspective.
Thankfully, I don't feel that that's happening in the game, but sadly, it's unrealistic. So, yeah.
I to comment a little bit on that, and of course, I can't be an expert here either. But from a genre perspective, it does feel like, when we're playing a character and we're kind of there's a whole philosophy about us transferring our consciousness into the avatars that we play, and then that becomes like us, and then is whether we mean to do it or not, it's subconscious, but it's almost you are going to transfer stuff that you experience in the real world to your perspective of that character when that character is then dealing with things. And so, I've had people call out things from an RP perspective. When you're driving a character from an RP perspective, sometimes what they do is not what you think, it's not how you feel, it's not, and so I've had those things come up in my LPs where I have to make a call because I know what the character is in their head, and I'm just going to stick to it, and I commit to it, even if it's a bad call or it's morally suspect, whatever the case might be, but I'll commit to it. And I can argue my points in the comments if I have to, but it does get to that point where sometimes you find yourself like maybe too attached to the character and unable to decouple that perspective, that modern perspective from the character. And in a genre like this, where the 50 years have passed, but based on what we've seen in the game, like they over-sexualize things, violence, over-sexualize things. There is a more ambiguity and acceptance across the gender spectrum, and because of course, in this world, you can be whoever you want, and it's become almost fad-ish, like to be that, to explore different things and not be afraid of exploring your sexuality or who you are. Again, whether it's gender, whether it's whatever other thing, right? And in the game, from the 2077 perspective, that line might be blurred. Like it might be a scenario where people don't see the gender as someone weaker anymore, because of course, even if you just speak from a cybernetics perspective, and you put a piece of cybernetics into you, then there is no argument of someone being better than any, one gender being better than the other. Like that argument is a very good point. Debunked. You know what I mean? Athletics have now incorporated cybernetics into the way that the sporting events are done, I'm sure. But so yeah, I mean, there might be a perspective there that could be intriguing to kind of decouple a little bit and see from the world's perspective. Yeah. Where do you stand? Like, how do you perceive yourself in this world, as opposed to what do you want to transfer to it?
That's a very interesting perspective. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that, the idea that cybernetics, one positive of cybernetics, may be closing that gender gap, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting. Okay. So after you leave, well, let me ask this one more thing. After you leave Dexter Deshawn's car, before Kathleen Googled anything, how much did you trust? How much did you trust the man? How much did you trust Dexter Deshawn after you left his car? Would you say?
Yeah, I didn't at all, and I think we were talking about this a little bit offline. That's where I felt like maybe I was missing context from codexes. Like I needed to know more about the people I was interacting with, based on what the database wanted to give me. So context that either came from Jackie or from T-Bug, and I needed to have those pieces so that I could make a call. Like there were some times where near the end of the game, you're like, if you don't have the context of even the crew you're with, it's like, oh Jesus, like I really don't know who to trust right now. I feel like I'm literally like being swung around by all of these people, and some of them might have meant well, like a Jackie, but I don't know, and Dexter Deshawn definitely, yeah.
Did not trust
I mean, the vibe was rough.
How about you, David?
Yeah.
I don't know if I must have read something you didn't, because I knew pretty much how fixes worked and the reputation going in. So I trusted him because he would have nothing to gain to screw up his reputation as a fixer, because that's suicide for him. Like don't do that. Just like I can't screw with a fixer, because that's also like big no. So very, very black and white for me. Like law and order, follow the loyalty.
All the rules.
Yeah, follow the rules. Yeah, exactly. The established rules at this point was trust your fixer, and they won't screw you over. So, yeah, and of course he didn't screw him over. They screw him over. It was one nice.
Oh, that's fine.
No problems there.
How about you, Kathleen?
We'll get there.
How about you, Kathleen? Initially, how much did you trust him initially?
I trusted him because I felt like, we have to have a reputation in the streets, right? So reputation is everything. And I, of course, trusted him. But then I Googled shit and I didn't trust him anymore.
And you didn't trust him anymore.
But also, a lovely lady was swaying me to the other side. And I'm in love with
That's exactly
Judy,
the moment.
So,
yeah.
So, yeah.
For me, I felt that after I left his car, I felt we had enough of a rapport that I was able to trust him enough because I felt we understood each other and were on the same page. I think more so than that, my V was more concerned about how much he thought Dex trusted him, because I think he was trying to be on his good side. He was trying to prove to him that V was somebody he could depend on, in hopes that he won't screw him later because of that. But more on that later. So
I'll just have you know, that was the only thing I Googled. The only
thing. Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I'll be straight up. Okay.
Nice.
The main quest sort of branches a little bit. You can go one of two ways. You have to do both at some point. But you can either go to Maelstrom first, or you could go to Evelyn first. What did you guys end up doing first? And that'll dictate where we go from here.
Evelyn for me.
You went to Evelyn first?
Where did I go?
So did you do the brain dance first, or did you take a...
I did the brain dance, so Evelyn first.
So Evelyn, and how about you, Kathleen?
Can't remember what I did first.
Did you go for the bot, or did you go meet Judy? Is there a... Did you meet Maelstrom? So if you went, when you Googled, you mentioned that when Evelyn tried to sway you is when you Googled. That was a key moment for where I went, should I trust Dex? Like I was already not trusting, and then Evelyn saying what she said, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, are you reinforcing that I shouldn't trust fixers in this scenario? That I could be a pawn here because you're actually the person hiring? You know what I mean? So it's like, but is that when you Googled to say, like, who do I trust, Evelyn or...
Yes.
Dex? So that was before the fight then, probably, the flathead.
Okay. I think all four of us went to Evelyn first. So let's do that first. So you...
Hey, Judy!
You meet the Moxes, you go to the bar with the Moxes, you meet Evelyn, and you have a bit of a chat. And then you meet Judy, and experience a brain dance for the first time and go through that whole system. So the floor is open.
Go ahead, Kathleen. Get out of the system.
Go ahead, Kathleen. You can go first with this one. Go ahead and gush all you'd like.
Dude, as soon as Judy appeared on screen, I was like, I am in love. I am in love. And I later heard, I tweeted about it. I was like, who is this character? I had no idea. I was like, this character is like the hottest, like, lesbian dream, right? And it turns out she is a lesbian character.
Yes.
So I'm gonna romance the shit out of her later in the game. I'm excited. God.
Wow.
She's just like, she has this like, okay, I just have to rant. She has this like this sexy she has this attitude, she has an accent.
Yes, I love her accent.
The accent is so sexy. God.
Love her accent.
She has like the shaved head. I'm rocking the shaved head gang.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everything about her vibe is so hot. I love it. I'm in love.
And as a gay man, like, just her body language, the way that she carries herself, like I catch myself noticing the little things, like when she's like leaning over, while talking to you, and I'm like, oh man, like if I was a lesbian, like I'd be all over that. Oh man.
See, I feel like her character was so lesbian coded. Like she has.
Wow.
She has.
Right.
How do I put it? Like she has like the. How do I say it? Like her attitude is very much the lesbian like dream of like tomboyishness. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just her mannerisms and everything. It's
It's not. Yeah, I didn't find her movements like not like seductive, I guess is the right word to say it. Like I did not find her moves seductive. Well, okay. Well, you did, but I meant but it was still
bias kicking in.
For me, it was not seductive the way that it's like, let me put some dog food in my breasts. But it was still attractive, I guess, is the way I would describe it for me. So.
I mean, the first time you go out of the brain dance, and she's like leaning over.
Oh yeah,
like, oh, she's adorable.
Yeah.
Oh,
I took a picture of that.
Oh,
screenshot.
Yeah.
I like her aesthetic, and I love her accent very much. And I think both Hawk and Kathleen can probably relate to this. When I learned that she was a lesbian, I had this like 3 second of man.
I didn't even know. Yeah, so.
Like I can just imagine how many times that happened for you guys.
Yeah, that happens to
straight,
me a
she's
lot.
Straight, everyone's straight, but then of like 3 seconds, I'm gonna be her best friend because she's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, okay, screw it. I have other priorities by then anyway, so I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, she was awesome.
Dismantling toxic masculinity as we speak.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, she's awesome. You're so capable and badass. I love her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have more to say about the love things later on.
I will as well.
I haven't gone to any of that. But okay, can I just say, really, I think that I know there are lesbians working at CD Projekt Red, and I have no doubt they had so much say in
I hope so.
that character.
I hope so. I have very high hopes for you, Kathleen. So I'm excited to hear your opinions when we meet again about that. Because I definitely have.
Are you trying to set me up with a lesbian that works in Poland? Because
I definitely will have many things to say about the gay romance as well. So
okay, sorry. Anyways, keep going. I'm sorry, I had to rant. That's
no, of course.
The only reason I was here. I just had to
That's the only reason is to talk about Gush about Judy.
That one screenshot I took.
So you get introduced to the brain dance and how editing mode and play mode and like all the different layers work. I absolutely love that as a person who loves mysteries, and I love investigating things and just going through footage and like looking for clues and stuff like that. That was just like I ate that for breakfast. I loved that so much. How about you guys? Like, what are your thoughts on brain dance?
It was cool, but there's no fail state, so there's just something you go through after a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to experience it in that way instead of just being told. So it immerses yourself a bit, but it would have been fun if there was there was some sort of stakes.
Yeah, it wasn't hand holding. I had the exact same feeling where I was like, this feels so cool. And it's like, oh, when you see the yellow band, then you got to do this mode. And it's like, well, you're just telling me what to do. Then there's not an investigation anymore. You're just going to, unless it becomes that in late Act 2, Act 3, where it's just like, there's some bug or something that wipes those tracks out. And now you do have to investigate freely. That would be cool. But the hand holding was like, oh, it's just a scene now,
I do agree with that there might have been a bit too much hand holding. I do agree with that. Yeah. Especially, and not just from the layers, but the objectives specifically tell you, there's more stuff that you can find. You optionally you can stop right now, but there's more things you could look for. So, yeah.
I didn't dislike it, but it could have been more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Totally.
After talking with Evelyn and Judy, we then move to the next branch, which is Maelstrom and All Foods, the All Foods factory.
But you missed one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Take the deal with.
Thank you. Yeah.
Meredith, what was her name?
Yeah,
Evelyn.
Yeah, she was trying to cut out
Whoa, hold on.
Do the deal.
Dexter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And that's kind of like a big thing. Like, okay, do you want to take her deal and cut up Dexter to Sean, and potentially get more money, or do you stick with Dexter to Sean and kind of follow the rules as written, and hopefully that loyalty pays off? So there were two branching things there. What did you guys choose?
Yeah.
I said I don't know, because as a player, and I was, the way I was RPing was, this is his first gig. Like, he has no idea how these dynamics work. He's going to pretend that he's, capable. He's got a very high cool stat, but I was like, I don't know which player should I cut out the fixer? Like, are we equivalent? Can we go straight to the source and just take jobs from the higher ups? Because I would rather do that, and not get screwed by the middle people. But yeah, I was happy the game gave me the option, but that definitely left me going, how do I even read this? And then, like you said, David, there's one line that is dropped at one point where it says, you don't fuck over the fixer. Like, that's not the line, but that's how I understood it immediately. And I was like, okay, hold on. There are rules. There are rules that have to, if you're a merc, like specifically. And at that point I was like, wait, so Evelyn is technically a merc, because she's kind of in the same, she should know the rules. She's breaking them intentionally. And that made me second guess. Like, okay, I can't be going with the whole, because the whole Evelyn relationship with Judy is where I was like, but they have like something, and Judy feels like someone that could matter to my story, like my stakes. Maybe a little meta there, right? But then I was like, I wanted to go with that person connection that Evelyn had with Judy, instead of the whole impersonal thing that Dex was offering us as just a middleman. So yeah, it was rough. It was a rough one. No call mate though.
Yeah. I actually I went the same way you did. I felt conflicted about that line, the line that you don't fuck with a fixer. And that's what made me inevitably decide to say, I don't know. Because I just, even though I kind of knew how things would play out, I just didn't feel right about going either way, because I just knew that my gut reaction was to say that I didn't know. So that's what I went with. So, yeah.
I was very direct, and I specifically told her, no, I'm not going to screw over the fixer, because I've already established a rapport with him. I already established trust with him. Her response was, but you can get more money this way. And my response to her was, well, you don't know what my motivation is, miss, because my motivation is not money, missy. It might be for you, but it's not for me. So that was like what I responded to, because I think for V, his principle, and again, this is probably a very naive principle, but he believes that trust and loyalty is a commodity that is rare than eddies.
Like street cred.
If you can, street cred. Like, if you can find somebody, a mercenary that you can depend on or rely on to not screw you over, that is worth so much more eddies to somebody, like, in his opinion. So that's sort of like his reasoning for making the decision that he made. How about you, David?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I was like, how dare you?
There are rules.
Break the rules?
Rules! No, girl, no! And I ratted her out as well.
Oh my god!
No.
So that's where David and I.
Wrong, Hark, wrong.
That is where David and I differed, because
under the bus.
100%. Yeah. You threw her under a bus. I was like, I'm not going to screw Dexter over, but I'm also not going to screw her over unless he directly asked me, if he directly asked me, is Evelyn trying to, like, cut me out, then I would be truthful about it. But as long as he didn't say anything, I wasn't going to volunteer that information.
Yeah, but
so
that
it went both ways.
The way he said it is like for me, it was like, he knows, he fucking knows. Like, and so that was survival mode kicked in immediately. I'm like, she's under the bus with David. Like, I don't know.
So you did throw her under the bus.
I'm in a scenario now where a dude is behind me standing by the, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I'm going to get owned here because it's a fixer. He's going to know, And so, yeah, definitely it was a save yourself scenario.
How about you, Kathleen? Did you throw Evelyn under the bus or not?
Snitches get stitches.
Okay.
I'm a true streets girl. Snitches get stitches.
Oh no. So we'll find out from Hark whether or not it paid to not.
Yeah. But I like that. I love how all of us are very diverse in and how he handled both
How it
Evelyn's
started and how it
offer
ended, right?
Yeah, I love that.
I was like,
I love that
next,
diversity.
next, I have something to say. Next, Evelyn, you know what to say.
Teacher's pet.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I'm nice and loyal. He won't screw me over.
God.
Yeah. So okay, so I think now we can move on to
All
All
Foods.
Foods and Maelstrom. First of all, I think it's kind of cool that their main hideout is the All Foods factory. Like that was kind of an interesting choice for them.
Perfect
but...
home for maggots. You know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Especially again after seeing how happy and bright the All Foods commercials are, I just thought it was kind of like funny and ironic that that's where the Maelstrom folks decided to home themselves up in. You meet Dum Dum, who I'm convinced is named after the lollipops, is what I said. Dum Dum. And then eventually Royce. And I think Kathleen was talking a lot about this specific gang and their aesthetic.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I think that the Cyberpunk lore does an exceptional job of making all of the different gangs, so unique and so different, and they all have really, really interesting lore of how each gang works. And I love that they all have their own, like I said, aesthetic. They have their own style. They have their own feel. They have their own code. And certainly Maelstrom's presentation freaked myself to my core, especially when Royce appears. I was like, dude, like this is, I'm not comfortable around you at all.
I love the aesthetic again.
Oh,
yes, as you said, Kathleen, the overly so much cybernetics. There's no hiding it. Like almost more robot than man, and how menacing they look.
It's not even their look, because then they follow that up with their behavior, and the behavior is what got to me more than the look. So that's generally where I tend to get caught on, even just from like who I romance. It's going to be the same thing. It's more how the person presents is more appealing for me to kind of get deep down into. And it's these guys are just like they're a version, like right at the core, the way they approach, the way they walk towards you, the way that they don't skip any. I mean, they skip all steps is what I mean. Like it escalated so rapidly that it's that uncomfortable feeling that came out of that scene led me to an action. I'm curious to see what other people what decisions they made at that one key moment.
Such a good scene.
This mission was one of my absolute favorites. Actually, one of my favorites in the whole game so far, because there's so many different ways you can handle the situation. There's so many ways you could resolve. It could go in multiple directions. So yeah, I'm curious how you guys, your Maelstrom mission turned out. Like what happened? How did you guys?
So who wants to talk first about? I don't want it to be me, but the decision where you have to make the call. The scene has you make a decision. I forget if there was a timer or not, but that's probably what that increased my anxiety. But it's the that moment, because Hark and I talked about it a little bit last night, just because I had experienced it and I saw Hark's experience of it, and I was like, oh wow, this is like you said, like there's so many deviation points that I don't know how to point them out. Even like going to like do the deal, because I think what happens before the scene, let's touch on it quickly,
right,
is the scene where you can go to, I think her name is Meredith.
Right. I forgot about Meredith Stout.
The corporal, right?
And
that
the
is
chip.
going to kind of, she jimmies herself into this deal, this scenario, and you're like, okay. So you have to make a call there that I think does impact what happens after All Foods, because Harks and I was extremely different. So Kathleen or David, do you want to talk about your moment with that flathead decision and when the gun goes, or the gun scene happens?
I can start. So I met with Meredith. I took her shard, because you have to, I guess. And I paid with the infected shard.
Did you crack it?
No, I cracked it.
Okay.
But I didn't tell them about it, because those guys are horrible. So I'm like, I watched them burn. I laughed, and No, then me and the Militech forces joined forces to take down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Royce.
Yeah.
Battle was cool and stuff. Yeah. No, I had no qualms frying them.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yep.
Kathleen.
Zero.
How about you, Kathleen?
So I gave them the shard or whatever, and I'm interested to see like what I kind of fucked up because
Oh no.
then Meredith was replaced later on by some other dude.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Wait, what was replaced? The Royce was replaced?
What's her name? The person
Meredith?
that offered
Oh,
the shard.
Meredith Stout. Okay.
Yeah.
Was
she replaced Gilchrist.
She re-
Gilchrist, you mean? Gilchrist
Yes.
was the guy that she was trying to like haul off and accusing of something.
And he replaced her
Oh my god.
in
Okay.
my Let's Play. Did that happen to all of you?
No.
Nope.
Wait, so David, are you in the Meredith train near the end of All Foods? Was it Meredith?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
But I feel like we all took different decisions from the beginning to the end.
Mine
here.
had Gilchrist. I didn't have Meredith disappeared. I had
I don't know
She
how you
disappeared for me.
triggered. What? I don't know how that would have triggered. So it looks like. So Kathleen, did you gave the money or did you give the chip?
I did give the chip, but I
Did-
didn't. I don't think I fixed the chip before. Yeah, I didn't crack it.
Did anyone else shoot Royce in the head?
Nope.
No.
I did.
You?
Yes.
Oh, you shot him in the head? Oh.
No, I took him out.
Oh, you took him out. What
I took him
happened?
out. I panicked. He came at me hot.
Oh,
And
man.
Yeah.
he doesn't deal well under pressure. I mean, this is like I was a cornered lizard. You know what I mean? It's like no, I'm a bite. And so Kathleen, you did, but you didn't get Meredith. See what I mean? Like there's
that
other
is
things
interesting.
going on here that are perplexing to me because we all did different pieces here.
Interesting.
Well, okay, so this is what happened. I tried to give him the chip, but then he freaked out on me, and then it ended up in us fighting, and I shot him. So it wasn't an option to shoot him in the head.
Okay.
So I got the boss fight.
Oh,
So I
okay.
gotcha.
So you
So
still
you were with
triggered
Militech.
the dude in the chair burnt out? Maybe is that what happened? The guy who puts the chip in to see if it's legit, and then something happens to him because the chip is, of course, corrupted.
No,
I think.
it ended up
Right.
in a fight before he even tried.
Interesting.
What
Oh.
the hell?
What did you
Yeah,
do?
so maybe
What did you do, Kathleen?
Crazy.
No, again.
I mean, Jackie got up and lifted Jackie was double arming two dudes, and I was like, "Fuck! I guess we're all we're in a
Yeah.
shootout. We're in a 5-person
Yeah.
pistol."
Yeah.
face-
Did you get the scene when you sit down in the sofa?
I sat in the sofa.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, because I know you can shoot things before you
Yeah,
get there.
I've seen somebody else in their Let's Play. There was a point where Dum Dum is telling Jackie to sit down, and this is before Royce even appears.
Yes.
Dum Dum's like telling Jackie to
we
sit down.
did drugs. We did drugs.
And Jackie like refused to sit down. So if you V don't intervene and tell Jackie to calm down and sit down, Jackie like pulls out a gun on
geez.
Dum Dum, and then all hell just breaks loose from there. You don't even meet Royce. Royce doesn't even come out
Wow.
with the flathead. It's just guns are now flying, and you now have to like.
Yeah, there's so many variables.
Yeah, it's
There's
so
many variables
cool.
with this.
I think I played it as textbook corpo as I could, because I did know about the virus. I cracked the chip. I paid with the chip. I told Royce up front about it. I was like, "Yo, by the way, you may want to know that there was a crack on that." And so I ended up. My V actually didn't want to side with any of them. He just wanted to get in there, get the flathead. He was like, "Screw Maelstrom, screw Militech. He doesn't care. He's just like third party, whatever." But the way that the game played out is that Militech ends up attacking Maelstrom, and I guess V didn't side with Maelstrom, but Maelstrom sided with me, so they weren't attacking me, and Militech was attacking us, and I was just trying to get the F out of there. So Royce survived for me, and Royce and I are not cool, but I don't think he hates me at the moment. So that was very different for me. And then, Meredith did not show up. It was Gilchrist who showed up and replaced Meredith.
So would I be right? So Kathleen and I had a solo the thing. There was no other agents in there. It was
And
it was you
Jackie.
up against Maelstrom and Jackie. Yeah, you
Yeah.
had to fight your way out, right? Yeah. I had a stealth.
But
my way
didn't
out. That was
Militech help
insane.
you though? Didn't Militech cyber
Yeah, it
team?
was crazy.
Oh
And I
no.
had a
That's
boss
solo.
fight. I had a
No.
boss fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't come in if you make things hot before you can alert them, whether it's to the chip
Yeah.
or you don't just waste like pad time, because the padding time is them getting there and then they infiltrate and
I
they're like,
see.
okay, this dude.
Well, I do know that by killing off Royce, you do get an iconic weapon from him, which I didn't get because I didn't kill him. So
I got a fucking jacket though.
Oh, okay.
I wore his jacket.
Okay.
Oh yeah, me too.
It was lower armor. I'm like, nah, this is the bitch's jacket.
Oh,
dude.
gosh.
Yeah, you're under my heels now. So no, this is a little RP kick in there. But it's the
Did Gareth come to you in the end, Shay?
so who
Or did you get Gilchrist?
I got Meredith.
Meredith.
Came in and
Okay.
she aligned. Here's the thing, because I saw it in Hark, so I don't know what happened in the other two runs there, but I didn't go guns a blazing because I wasn't built for that. So I had to take things a little slower, and I found things that Hark absolutely did not. And so there's the dude that kind of gets replaced, that Royce replaces, and you find him in a sort of I don't know if you all found him. What's his name again? Shoot,
Yeah,
we got
I
Bridge or something
So,
or
yeah.
whatever.
this. And the room is wired to,
Interesting.
if you open it wrong, it'll detonate. I mean, they're going to take him
Oh,
out.
that's so cool.
But you can find him. And so he's in the database. You can see him as like an entry. And it's one of those, I stumbled on that because I had to go slowly. And then some of the laptops hid some secrets. So there's a way to hijack a laptop to take out all the cameras at once.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just disable them. It wasn't even a hack. It was just, I want to turn it off. I found a laptop that did that. And so little things like that helped me for sure.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that was the moment where I was getting damaged. I didn't know what was going on. It was because all those cameras were wired up and some runner out there was like frying me. No matter I was trying to stealth like rooms and rooms away. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I need to get through this, but I don't know what's hitting me, So
Did
a
you
lot
get
of little secret things.
Yeah. Did you get a message from Meredith afterwards?
No, she was there. She just showed up.
Okay.
She showed up. I don't know what happened to the dude that you guys are talking about. He might have gotten off. I don't know. But she's like, she gets there and says something fell off the truck, and you basically take the flathead and continue with the plot. Yeah. She seems, but she gives you a line there though that for me was meaningful because of the origin and the whole thing with loyalty, because it made me think of like, yeah, but I wasn't loyal to Dex, and I didn't want to go align with Meredith because I don't like corpos. But I found myself in this scenario where then she says a line because she was violent up front, but it was cautionary. But when she's wrapping that up and they're going to go in there and clean the place, she says something about loyalty on her entry. And I was like, ooh, okay, that landed right. Because I was like, I didn't like you, but it kind of hit the whole point of, it's not family, but it's like the contact. That's where the first time where I felt like your contacts matter. And even if you don't like people up front, this is your moment to like create a new network of people that are going to have your back, and you've proven that you're going to have theirs, and you create that dynamic.
Yeah, definitely one of the best designed missions in the game, in my opinion. Just in terms of variability and like little Easter eggy things that Shay was talking about. That's cool.
Because I was going to say, because like I saw Harks a lot, like 2 nights ago too, and he was blasting away and just hauling ass. Like it was like, but it was so much chaos. There was so much things because there's a lot of propane tanks all around, but all those bullets flying and there's explosions going all over. It looks so cinematic, And I was like, that experience alone, Hark might have missed things, but that feeling that I got watching Hark rush through that thing, I was like, oh, no, that was pretty kick-ass, And to be honest, like things don't really matter yet, and so you can play this any way you like the stuff I found, it might not matter, or things we don't know, right? The things that we're compromising along the way, we're going to find out late Act 2, Act 3, but those feelings, playing the game certain ways, they nailed it, I think. That Kathleen, you went firing then. You went shooting, right? Like you.
This makes me want to replay the game already because I'm realizing there's so many different choices I could have made. But yeah, I did go gun blazing at times, but I still managed to find some really cool stuff. I did find that one guy you were mentioning before, and it was just really interesting because, like, I don't know, it was a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of like I read different terminals and stuff, and I got some information about what was going on, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Even at the All Foods, right? Like there's a terminal where you get into the emails, and I read all the emails, even if I'm,
Yeah, same.
But it's like I'm going to stop, because one of those emails was basically the factory shutting down because the marketing thing wasn't working out, and because they weren't getting those home mega thing to like sell to the consumers, and so that's why everything went defunct. And then the maelstrom came in and basically took over a defunct building, but it's like it's a failed product. It's out there, it's still being advertised, but it's dying, and it's kind of like a little bit of a subtextual narrative going on between the companies, kind of like screwing with each other, and so pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, last but not least, we get to the final part of Act 1, the big heist, where we finally, make our way into, I think, Konpeki Tower, I believe, and try to make our way to the penthouse to acquire this relic. I think David already mentioned how much I love Jackie in his suit, and I talk a lot about Jackie and his suit and my feelings about Jackie and his suit in my Let's Play, so I'm not going to repeat it and rehash it here. I found it entertaining. I don't know, your mileage may vary, but unless any of you guys have anything specific to say about the stuff before, I think we can go straight to the penthouse, I think.
Yeah, we can pop up.
So...
if people are cool.
Yeah. That whole thing was intense.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, like, trying to find the relic, even though you knew where the relic was, between T-Bug trying to like get you to like assisting you to try to get to the relic and find access to the relic, and worrying that at any moment that Atom Smasher or whatever would like come in and completely like mutilate all of us. And then leading up to the huge like plot point between the, I forgot what's his name, but the son and the father and that altercation while we're, having 5 minutes of heaven with Jackie inside that enclosed space. Anyone wants to start?
You just had to go there. I love it.
I definitely went there in my LP, and I went further than I probably should have in my LP. Way further than I should have, maybe. But it's too late now. So,
did anyone else see the different stuff? There was like some type of picture, I think, of the father at some point. And it was said that he's been around since World War One.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a documentary that happens right after you the scene, and then right at the end.
He's Captain America.
150 years old. Yeah.
He is 150 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess cybernetics will do that. I mean, lifespan.
That was like mind blowing to me.
Well, if it wasn't cybernetics, it was something, right? Because he looked human on the outside. He had no cybernetics, and so. Yeah. But look at what he was working on, and so part of me is like, I don't know, this could be a thing that's getting developed. How do you live forever?
I mean, if you have a bad heart, replace it with a cyber heart. I mean, if you have a bad whatever, just replace it. So I think that's not that's very believable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I thought that entire scene was just super intense. What happened to T-Bug? It wasn't even clear to me what happens to T-Bug when she gets caught. I find out later what happens to her, but I won't spoil it in case people don't know about it until Act 2. And then just trying to escape with Jackie with the relic, and then crashing through that glass ceiling, and Jackie making a decision to put the relic into his head, and then just trying to get yourself out of Dodge, back to Delamain. Everything from beginning to end was like such a thrill for me, and I absolutely loved it.
And it just like clipped. Like
it was like an anxiety attack for me. It was so tense. I mean, like that one character that we meet earlier, that's just a fucking tank.
Atom Smasher.
And then oh fuck, I hate him. I mean, the first word we hear from him just gross.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is gross. Yeah,
they set him up straight off the top.
And then this moment where I remember turning to Jackie and just being like, oh shit. We literally showed up at the worst time. We are fucked. And I'm amazed that V got out relatively unscathed because just everything was just so fucked. Yeah, it was just anxiety inducing, the whole thing.
Yeah, and I liked how so if you were to break down that final like rush out of the building, you'd have these small moments in the elevator or whatever, and then you'd have that connection point with Jackie. I think that's what started to get me. Is like you knew he was losing it on each scene, and it got to that third point, and you're like, oh, and then you got to Delamain, and you're like, oh, this might be the guy, right? It's just everything was this trickle, where it's like I can do nothing about this, you know, but and then it's like cool. Like there's a point in the third elevator, I think, where one of your options, the way it comes out is like you get angry or something because of course you're in this like scenario and it's shitty, and then Jackie says don't take it out on me. I'm like, oof. I mean, that's like, I mean, even if I didn't intend it that way, it's just the story that gave you that below of like these people are stressing out, like they're stressing out, they're gonna potentially die here, you know, and in those scenarios you're gonna lose your shit. It doesn't matter how close you are to Jackie, you're gonna like think, no, I didn't have to do this. If it wasn't for you or Dex, or you're gonna find all these excuses, right? But you're gonna regret them. But
I don't know if you had anything to say, David, prior to getting to Delamain.
Not very much. I mean, the scene just kind of plays out. I just think it's a really cool scene, very tense scene, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah,
for David, no.
I mean,
armor tonight.
me. So I walked in there like
biggest gun, most armor.
Yeah, no.
Who wants to point a gun at me?
No. It was a nice scene.
It was also a very good challenge. I don't know what difficulty you guys are playing on, but I'm on normal, and I died a lot trying to get out of that building, in a good way, because it really did teach me how to play combat in this game. And I kind of figured out. It took me. I think it took me like about an hour to get out of that building, but I think in that hour I learned a lot about how the combat system worked and what was comfortable for me in terms of how I was going to like handle combat in the future. But we then eventually get to Delamain. You know, there's a brief like fight while we're driving with the drones and stuff, and then you realize very quickly that something's not wrong. Something not right with Jackie, and the feels train.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's.
I cried.
Yeah,
I got a bit misty-eyed as well. I have to admit, like, oh, come on, dude.
It was just so dark, and it's so. I feel like it was more realistic in terms of deaths. There's been. I can think of like maybe one or two deaths where I was like, oh, I just feel awful because this is really what death feels like, and that. Like this death, it was very much like he didn't get any powerful last words or any.
It was not cliched.
That just it doesn't fucking happen, and especially in their line of work. Like I'm sure they imagined that something like that would happen at some point.
With the storytelling, I would say was pretty impeccable at that point because. I up to that point, like I've been saying, is I didn't know my connection. I didn't know Jackie's history really until I read the database, and it's like, well, he's part of the Valentinos. He was in a gang. He wanted out of it, so he started a new life. But then he ended up in this life, and him telling you these pieces as you're going through this intense scene was like, I'm getting all of this like hammered into me now. I'm like, oh, now I have the context. Now I want, like, I see his motivation, I see his desire, and now that everything's going wrong for him, as he's telling me all these things that are the reasons why he got into this, he's falling apart, you know, and all of it is kind of this harmony in the storytelling, you know, and it gets to a point where like one of his last lines is like, Misty knew, and I don't know what that means, but like I think we're gonna find out. But you know, you have that moment with Misty, is like, just what, like, where's the body? Like I wanted to know, like, did anyone know what happened to my bro, you know? And it's she doesn't seem that phased, you know, but then that line stuck with me, that Misty already knew, or Misty knew, or whatever he said. It's like, oh man, I wonder if that's going to touch into that whole idea of like spirituality versus like that starts to go away when all the cybernetics starts to take over and you start to become more machine than person, and then you're losing the essence of what makes you a human. And Misty, I think, represents that, and hopefully that she becomes our doorway into kind of appealing to that part of our nature, human nature.
Yeah.
I have to applaud how much the voice actors killed that scene.
They're so good.
The way that the one line that V says, the delivery was just perfect, because I think he said something along the lines of, Jackie, don't close your eyes, or something along those lines. It's so easy to overact that. But the way he delivered it was just, in my opinion, perfect. It felt realistic. It felt so raw. And I think that is really what sold the scene for me and really, really got to me, along with the fact that I was just impressed by how attached the game and the writers were able to make you feel with Jackie, how attached you got to with him as a character in such a short time. Because this really is not that large chunk of the game that you got to spend with Jackie, but yet it really did... they did enough so that this death scene was super impactful.
I think that's part of it, that they did enough, right? Yeah.
Didn't oversell it.
Yeah. Definitely presented very well. Again, in my opinion, I think they actually did that death scene better than some of the stuff I've seen from BioWare, honestly. Some of the stuff I've seen.
I think the thing is, like, so many games and shows and media in general just, like, have a character die in, like, the first part, and they expect you to feel something. Like, that's kind of why I haven't, like, connected to anime like Demon Hunter, because I was like, oh, these characters died in the first episode. I don't give a shit, Like, so,
I remember reading your Facebook posts, Kathleen, about Jackie's so awesome. I love this character. And this is before I knew you got to. I knew. So I'm like seeing these comments, and I was like, oh, Kathleen, oh no. And I couldn't say anything because obviously I didn't want to spoil anything.
My baby.
So I was like, oh.
Yeah. It was a lovely scene, but CD Projekt Red spoiled it for me.
They did.
Really?
They spoiled it for all of us. Yeah.
Except
They did?
Hart didn't watch anything.
I didn't watch any trailers though.
Right.
But wait, so you're saying they showed in a trailer?
They talk about that.
Yeah, it was in a CG trailer. You can see the car scene. I'm like, why did you?
What?
Why?
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
they fucked it up.
So here's the thing. Here's how I took it, and this is where it had a reverse effect on me, which sort of it ended up being what impacted me most, is because I anticipated as a consequence to a decision that might have been later.
Oh, interesting.
That's another thing. That's how I interpreted it as well.
The camera's pulled out, right? Because you see that it's not first person in what they showed us. It's you're seeing him punch on the, like, we made it, we're out of the scene, and it's like you see the reaction of V with Jackie and that moment happening and him handing over the chip. That being said, there's another scene to touch on here, because it's the scene in that trailer before that death scene, which doesn't happen in the game. And that was a complete red herring for what I expected to happen, because I had seen it in a trailer. And I was like, I'm in Dex's room right now. Like he's sending me to the bathroom right now. And this was a trailer. And in the trailer, it ends with you coming out of that bathroom. Like, you're all good to go, and like you mantis arm the guy's arms off, like the bouncer's arms off, like you come out of that scene like a pro. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. You come out that like unscathed, you know what I mean? So it shows you this perspective of like
he was
you possibly have a choice.
Yeah, because I've seen the trailer. Like, I'm going to the bathroom, when I go out, I know he's going to betray me because I've seen it in the trailer.
Oh, that stinks.
But that's the only thing that I was spoiled.
But I feel like that presentation was that it could have been a consequence. Like, it could have been a decision engine.
Oh yeah.
You could have fought your way out, or you could have
right? Yeah, because T-Bag was there.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought when it happened. I thought that I did something wrong, because I remember when I was doing YouTube, I said in a video, I said that was really not smart of CD Projekt Red to spoil something like that.
Exactly,
and I got called out for it. I got called out for it. People said in the comment section, they were like, "No, they're not spoiling anything. This is a decision you can make."
Yeah, fuckers.
They did. They spoiled it. I was
they
right.
Spoiled it.
I was right.
They spoiled it. I hate that so much, because I know I purposely didn't watch any of the trailers, but I know that vast majority of people, wouldn't do that necessarily. So I'm disappointed that so many people got spoiled by Jackie because like
maybe a gameplay trailer, but this was a CG trailer. Like I won't watch every Mass Effect trailer coming out, and if they're like, oh yeah, he dies. Like, oh
yeah, I
what?
I don't understand. I hate that. I'm
That
so
was
sorry.
All the promo material, as much as they controlled it to some extent, because they kept all of the things they showed in all of the promo material for years at this point to that first act. And there are little moments and clips, like you saw the piece with the Marauders, like you saw the piece, like you saw all these pieces, and as you're playing it, you're stitching them together, but you know you're making choices that are screwing with things, and so I don't know, I yeah, but it was a reverse impact it had on me. I sort of expected it, but then I was like, I can change this, you know? And that's, no, I don't think I can change this. And then where's the Mantis arm scene? Because I'm like, I couldn't have even afforded Mantis arms when I was like, I wanted to defend myself in that deck scene. I was like, how the fuck am I going to get out of this? I couldn't have afforded this, you know? So it derailed me. And that it was from that point, and then that everything starts to derail very quickly. It's like, it hit me harder because I was like, okay, now it's like all of this is fresh and new to me, and it's going bad so fast with like the Silverhand moment. You're seeing his scenes, and like I don't know, we'll wait.
Yeah,
it speaks to the strength of the scene that I still got emotional when he died. Of course, even though I knew it would happen.
Voice acting, I think.
Voice acting throughout the game. The voice acting is. We'll talk more about this in future acts, but it's just top notch.
So good.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Silverhand.
We
then
finally get shot in the head and get screwed over by Dexter Deshawn, regardless of what we do.
I trusted him.
I know. That should have counted for something. And then we get flashback to 2030 or
2022.
Yeah. And Keanu makes his appearance. Neo Wick, basically Neo Wick, right down to the way that he reloads his weapon. I love how he reloads his weapon. It's like crazy fun, crazy fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, you end up going through the whole Johnny Silverhand scene. You wake up in a landfill apparently. Then you find out what ends up happening to Dexter Deshawn, like ultimately, and I think Takemura, you meet Takemura. Stuff happens with Takemura and Misty and Victor Vector.
So quick. Those scenes are so quick, but
so quick. And then you have a very disturbing conversation with Johnny. So a lot to unpack there. So we can start things chronologically as you see fit, but let's start with the whole Johnny Silverhand scene flashback. Were any of you spoiled by the flashback by any chance?
No, that wasn't in trailers. We knew Johnny Silverhand was in the game, obviously because of Keanu. We knew he got up to a mic. As far as I know, there's no other piece that ever got leaked about how that moment happened. You knew it was going to happen because that was the point of the game. It was a dual identity kind of scenario, but man, how it happened and the information they give you in that last hour or whatever it is, in those multiple scenes about Johnny Silverhand, it turned this thing upside down. Like going into Act 2, it was really like it's like a catalytic moment of like, I don't want any of this. Like I know the game is going to be about this, but this doesn't feel good at all. Like this isn't, maybe that's what you build in Act 2, maybe, but you learn about the whole detonation piece of it too, where you're like, your identity is getting overwritten, and that is like, whoa. Like,
did any of the trailers spoil that Johnny Silverhand was going to end up in V's head?
Oh, that was the premise. That was definitely
that was the premise.
You could assume
I didn't.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're showing up to a hologram kind of thing that pops up.
Gotcha. Okay.
You knew it was going to be tied to some chip that you put in, which is why the scene where Jackie puts it in, for me was like, wait, what?
Give Keanu to me.
You're right.
Yeah. I'm the protagonist, Jackie. I'm the mode protagonist. I have some reasonable plot armor. Give it to me so you can survive.
Oh no, you died. Oh, I just got to take this. No. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think that whole premise that the relic or the anagram or whatever you want to call it is slowly overriding V's personality, for me is a really like fresh, interesting concept.
Yeah, it's horrible though. It's almost worse than death. Like you're
Yeah.
slowly losing yourself.
It's sort of like it's sort of like Alzheimer's kind of,
Yeah.
in a way that your personality just changes over time, and but in a way it's obviously different because you're basically transforming into this other person who is probably completely different from you.
Yeah. But we can't talk too much about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about that.
What you get from Act 1 is already there's a lot of details there that really hammer it home that this Johnny Silverhand is, I mean, you know the actions he took to create the scene in 2022, but even his attitude, like he was, you know, not only bailing the band, but he knew it might be his last day. That's how I read it. Like he knew he was going into this and it was probably going to be a martyr. It was going to like, he was going to Alistair something, you know? And it's, not to spoil that, but this is then when he he comes out and it's like you have that kind of Neo-esque moment where both identities are in sort of a digital form, and it's like no, we're both in here now, and it's a cool motif, I guess, of like, you know, these are spirits, right? But because it brings up the philosophies of what's a spirit, like how do you define that? And then if you have the digital representation of something that is the thing, then is that the spirit? Have we now digitized what a spirit means? And that definition in philosophy really starts to like alter a bunch of beliefs, and then it's like, okay, well now we know it's one's eroding, one has taken place, and there's all this philosophy about mind and body and like how identity is defined that gets very intriguing. And where this one really spins even the philosophy of all of these discourses is that they're coexisting until they're not, and this isn't it's not a brain switch philosophy like kind of where you do a thought experiment of like, okay, but if your brain went to this body, would that husband still be that person's spouse? And then it's like, well, the spouse might not see that because it's going to be a different person, but the brain is. And so at which point does the observer have trouble accepting the identity of the person that they're saying it's me? You know, what does what it's me mean? And and he's very violent about it, like the hologram, and you know it's you because then you start mimicking the actions, and it's like you knocked your ass down. Like it wasn't Johnny that did it, but like you think you're kind of creating a reality for yourself. It's like a massive hallucinogenic but it's real, you know. And yeah, it was aversive. That's not the. Anyways, yeah, it was rough. It was, yeah. So it hit home.
I think what really this was the part of the game that I felt, I don't know, the last part with Jackie and then this scene where we meet Silverhand was the moment of the game where I thought, wow, this is really remarkable. This is a different breed. This is something different. Because I assumed that Johnny Silverhand's character, you know, being played by Keanu Reeves, that he would be this buddy that would help us through. But he's very nefarious from the beginning. Like he obviously is a destructive force, not only just in a physical sense, but in a moral sense. And even though I feel like I don't really know all of Johnny Silverhand's motives. I feel like I would probably sympathize with a lot of his motives, to be honest, because maybe it's just my anarchistic personality. But like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I would relate to some of his ideas, but this just he's a parasite in this moment, and it's just an interesting conflict that I have not yet seen in a game, because there's so many games that you start out and it's like you're the good guy and you have to defeat this evil in order, you get this very sense of like, okay, moral rightness, but in this game it starts out and it's kind of bleak and depressing, and you don't really know how to go forward at this point. So
how close or accurate is the Johnny Silverhand's portrayal personality in the video game versus in the tabletop lore?
So I'm not quite familiar with the lore. Like I've only played it a couple times, so I'm not like very deep into the lore. The only thing I knew about Johnny Silverhand is that he was a famous rocker boy, which is like the term that they use for famous rockers. But it's also like it makes sense because rocker boys are not only they're not only musicians, but they also have a very political message. And it's usually like an anarchistic message, like it's rebellious. So his personality, from what I've seen, is very much matches what I assume the rocker boy would be. But and I also knew that he was dead, so I was very confused how they'd put him in this game. But now I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like he's dead in the lore, but. Yeah,
that's awesome. And for context, Hark, like the original tabletop is 2020, not 2077.
Right.
Yeah.
The original creator of the game worked with CD Projekt Red to then say what happens 57 years from now, where all these characters, like Adam Smasher, was into that idea, that methodology or kind of belief system of like very Marauder-esque, but in this game he gets a 96% or 97%. Like that wasn't in the game. Like I think it was 20 or 30%, but it's like 50 years have passed and this guy doesn't want to die and he's a tank. He wants to live like a tank. Like that's his belief system, you know. And
I can relate. My final form.
How about you, David? At least by this point, by the end of Act 1,
I have
going back to
shift through a bit. My initial reaction was, who the fuck is this rocker boy anarchist fuck up in my head, and how do I get him out? Because he's driving me insane. But that wasn't the initial reaction. Like kind of scary. Like just the overriding force of his engram. Like, okay, I have to do something. How do I solve this? How do I solve this problem I have? That was the initial reaction, at least.
My initial reaction is I went into this wanting to like Johnny Silverhand, because again I thought I was like Kathleen in that I was like, Johnny Silverhand, he seems like a cool guy. I think he's just going to be like our buddy. He's going to be our support system, like getting us through the game. And it was very
guardian angel
jarring. Not necessarily in a bad way. I'm not at all saying any of this is negative at all. But it was kind of jarring with me when I actually started talking to him, and he was very much not wanting to cooperate with V to the extreme in certain cases. And I mean, the players will get to see how things go with me and Johnny in Act 2. But at this point in the game, I was thinking, we are not going to get along. Like, I don't see how my V, knowing my V's character conceptually, I do not see how my V and this Johnny Silverhand are going to work together. Like, I really am not seeing it right now. So, will that change in the future? We'll see. We'll see how I feel later. But
I don't think anyone had the reaction like, oh, wow, this is awesome. He's in my head, and I love him, and he's so kind to me. But the first reaction is always going to be a bit boring, like, oh, what's happening? But then again, it's Keanu Reeves, so it's freaking awesome as well.
But again, the presentation and there's the creepiness of, your vision blurring, and then the music and the sound effects, like just the little twinges of not quite nail against the chalkboard, but the sound mixing just throughout the whole was very unsettling and very uncomfortable, and I thought it set up things really well for V, and I'm like, this is really scary. Like, I don't know how we're gonna get out of this. Misty's trying to help out, giving us red pill, blue pill, and like it's like, how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go? So it was a very. I feel like that was on purpose. I feel like that was definitely a nod to the Matrix. It's a Neo moment.
That's great.
So, yeah. Any other thoughts? I guess before we start to wrap things up at this point.
Looking forward to the open world from here. Just opening everything up.
Yeah, have fun.
Act 2 is when the game actually begins.
100 hours later, I'll kick off the next scene. That's plot based.
I guess for the people who have played ahead, by this point in the game, like, how would you rank this, like, game based on like other games that you've played, or are there other PGs that you've played? Like for Kathleen, for example, where would this rank compared to Witcher, for example? Or for those of you who played Fallout, where would this compare to Fallout or any other game? I'm just curious. By Act 1, by the end of Act 1.
That's really hard to say. I mean, anyone that knows me knows I'm obsessed with The Witcher. I'm very confused because I'm not sure if I want to be Yennefer or be on her. So, that's kind of like my life struggle. Yeah, so so far I'd say nothing really compares to The Witcher.
Okay.
But this might come close. It just depends. I'll see. It's hard for me. I have to say though, it's hard for me not to look past the glitches, even on the PC. It's been a problem. Whereas The Witcher, that was not a problem, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
How would you compare this to the BioWare games? Even though you can kind of argue apples and oranges, but like, I'm just curious.
I don't know. What do you guys say?
Me, since I finished the game, I'm going to talk about it. But there's some things that Cyberpunk does super well that I didn't think. Like, that was really impressive compared to BioWare standards. There's some things that I think, this wasn't as good as BioWare standards. But a few things I'm like, I was like blown away at why this is how BioWare should do it. This is amazing. And we'll talk about that when we come to the end of the game.
Okay.
I like that this could potentially inspire, though, right? The next BioWare games that are going to come out for Mass Effect and Dragon Age, because they're years away. And this game, good or bad, bugs or not, right? It's still going to have game design aesthetics and decisions, especially from a conditional engine perspective, or consequence engine, where there's no way they don't look at that and go, you know what? Wow, that was. I'm speculating here, of course, right? But that was a much. It's okay to lose whole chunks of games, and that comes from Witcher. Because I played Witcher 2, and I haven't played Witcher 3 yet. But Witcher 2, you make a decision that you're playing two games. You in early Act 2, where the game is an entirely different game for the last half if you replay it and make that decision in a second way, right? So I understand that this game Cyberpunk has those across the board, like even like a Royce edition. I took him out, you three didn't. Well, I don't know if Kathleen did, but what happens there? Does that plot continue, right? Where's Meredith? I mean, some of us have her, some of us has the other dude, right? So what happens there? I wonder like how much of that is going to happen in this game, and it's going to influence other decision engines in the future. I would say from a comparison perspective, though, I mean, I'm only in Act 1, but like from a character, like feeling like that flexibility of like my RP intentions are coming out through the character. Mass Effect really nailed it. I think still today for me, my Shepard is the number one kind of RP experience I've had, has definitely been playing Shepard. So I mean, I hope this game gets, can do some of that stuff right, but I don't know. I have to get through Act 2. That's where all the meat is. I'm
just a big BioWare fanboy, so
you're biased. So your opinion
still, some things this game done, it was amazing. So we're gonna talk about that later.
So for me, I actually went into this game, and by this point, by the end of Act 1, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I got hooked into Cyberpunk, because I figured I was going to enjoy this game, but I'd have to say I didn't expect to enjoy it this much. I really enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoyed how immersive it became, how a lot of the ways that you can handle certain situations were very variable. And it's hard for me to compare it with the BioWare games, because BioWare is less open worldy. They try to tell a more not straightforward. That's not the right term. But
crafted.
More
it's
focused.
A more crafted story. Like they know what story they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's more focused I don't know if I necessarily would say that the story is more crafted, but definitely more focused than like an open worldy sort of sandbox game. So I kind of see Cyberpunk as a combination of Fallout with Detroit Become Human with Deus Ex Human Revolution, or I think whatever that game was. And so as David said, like I think so far there's a lot of elements that I'm like, yeah, BioWare, that blew BioWare out of the park how they handled that specific scene, or ooh, I don't know if they did that nearly as well as BioWare does. So
It's like
overall,
it's two different studios.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree.
I agree with you. I compare this game, I think, the most to Deus Ex, the most recent Deus Ex games, the last two games, because I feel like this game is what Deus Ex wanted to be.
Oh man, that's a good point.
In a lot of ways.
That's a good point.
Yeah, maybe,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I actually like Deus Ex gameplay more than I like gameplay in Cyberpunk.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Maybe just like
can see
playstyle.
that too. I can see that
I can
too.
see
There's
that.
moments
It's more
where
technical.
I feel
I mean,
I wish there was the same technical aspect of it.
I don't know.
I will say, to compare it to Fallout, I played New Vegas in particular. I didn't play 4, so I don't know what they did, but I know their perk tree was what I love the most out of Fallout New Vegas. It is sandboxy, but it has a trajectory that you can, and I feel like that is, from my perspective, the closest thing that this game could be. But their perk system and the ability to craft your character in a way that really molds around your idea of how you want to not only gameplay it, but how you want to think with the character. And I hope that, because I've seen options in dialogue wheels that are like the cool option, but also the agility, not the reflexes option in dialogue. And it's like wordplay, and it's like, well, that's really crafty because it's not just physical, So I hope it kind of takes, because I only had seen that in Fallout New Vegas, where your skills, all your skills, ended up mattering for things that just could have been dialogue, mechanics. Well, a mechanic's talking to you about something, and now you're gonna have this one extra option to you because you know this one thing that's wrong with it, right? And you get to progress that forward because you have this very manually or skill, But in the game, they give you that. I don't know. They make the build matter. I want that out of the game, and I hope that's what happens with this game.
It's just like if you place lots of points in body, I didn't think that would help in conversation, but it does, and I love that because I don't have to be an intelligent, charming Paragon guy to have the cool options.
Right.
I can be the big freaking warrior and still have unique options that are available for me, and I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm missing out because I only have free and cool.
That's the same thing where if you don't take charisma, you're screwed. That's happening in games.
Yeah.
Like I play characters like, but all these like BioWare dialogue, Dragon Age in particular, right? It's like, oh man, I didn't know how important coercion was, and it's like I've lost how much for this game, like getting to this point where I can, and now I'm like just taking the points because I'm like, oh, now it's meta, like I'm not doing it for the character's sake,
right?
But I'm losing the story here. I'm losing relationship connections. I'm losing these points that matter.
It should be forced on you. It should be a play game, a choice available to everyone.
Have you learned about the photography mode, Kathleen? You can kickstart a photo mode and post people and
I haven't gotten to any like sexy modes with Judy, but I can't wait.
Okay. Well, three of you, thank you guys again so much for agreeing to chat with us for X number of hours today, especially for those of you who are a bit later at night. So I appreciate that a lot. I had a lot of fun. It's so great hanging out with you and talking with you. For everybody who's watching, thank you guys so much for spending all this time with us. I hope you learned something, or I hope we brought up something interesting that you may not have thought about with this game. There's obviously a lot to unpack, and there's so much more we could talk about, but I'm sure we will have way more things to chat about next time for Act 2, so please be on the lookout for that. So thanks again, and have a wonderful new year for those of you who are watching this around the time that this is going to be released. And until next time, everybody, love yourselves and love each other. Bye.
Bye-bye.